Movements began to slow down, and her body fell straight down. Mother, mother? The seventh prince quickly stepped forward and carried his mother to the bed. Turning to look at Shang Ruai, what's going on? This poisonous insect controls her thoughts and behavior. I think this poisonous insect may be on her head. The seventh prince was about to refute, but when he recalled the scenes just now, he had to believe her. What should I do? The seventh prince looked at the person on the bed in pain, clenching his fists. Why is my mother poisoned? Who is it? Who is it? Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly. The only people who could do such a thing were the queen and concubine Xiao. But at that time, concubine Xiao had not entered the palace yet. The only one who could do this was the queen. However, she was a little puzzled. Why would the queen poison an ordinary concubine? If it was because she gave birth to a prince and was feared, but the seventh prince was not favored, and there were more than one concubine who gave birth to a prince in the palace. Why did she target her like this? You just said that the poisonous insect was on her head. Is there any way to get it out? Shang Ruai pondered for a moment and whispered, if you want to get it out, you have to open the skull. Open the skull? The seventh prince was horrified. If the skull was really opened, could the person still survive? Little princess, little ancestor, do you know what you're talking about? The seventh prince said tremblingly. How could there be someone in this world who could survive with his head opened? I can only say that you are shallow-minded. There are all kinds of things in the world. Just because you haven't seen or heard of something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. A cold light flashed in Shang Ruai's hand, and a sharp dagger appeared in her palm. The poisonous insect should be on the surface. If it really grew in the brain, it would not have survived until today. She looked at the seventh prince. This is the only way now. Your mother's pulse is almost untraceable. If you delay any further, there will be no way to save her. Think about it carefully, whether to save her or not. After the voice fell, concubine Qing on the bed began to frown again. Hurry up and make a decision. Time is running out. The seventh prince clenched his fists and whispered, Save. You get out. Don't you need me to help you? Shang Ruai glanced at him. It's good enough that you don't make things worse. The seventh prince looked at him with some concern. Shang Ruai saw this and mixed some energy in her internal force. She swung it hard and slapped the seventh prince out of the room. The seventh prince was already outside the door before he could even react. He Jingheng stood outside the door and saw the scene. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and curl his lips. What are you laughing at? The seventh prince stood up from the ground and looked him up and down. Are you a guard of the Prince Cheng's mansion? He Jingheng glanced at him. What does it have to do with the seventh prince? You, a servant, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you have the support of the emperor's uncle. He pointed at He Jingheng. You are just a guard, not a master. Put yourself in the right place. For Ruai's sake, I will not bother with you. He Jingheng sneered and said nothing. The seventh prince was already angry, and seeing his attitude, he said in a deep voice, How is your kung fu? So. Fight with me. He Jingheng smiled. Are you sure, seventh prince? If you lose, don't be angry. If I can't beat a mere servant like you, you'd better not be a prince. Okay. Half an incense stick passed, and the seventh prince had no idea how many times he had been thrown away by He Jingheng. He lay on his back on the ground, coughing uncontrollably. Are you coming again? Upon hearing this, the seventh prince waved his hands hurriedly. No, cough, cough. He forced himself to sit up, looked at He Jingheng, and whispered, When did you arrive in the western regions? He Jingheng narrowed his eyes slightly. What does your highness mean? Why don't I understand? Don't pretend to be confused here. He Jingheng, do you really think I'm a fool so easy to fool? The seventh prince glared at him. He just felt strange. According to the character of that little ancestor, how could he allow a guard to be so close to him? Besides, even if the emperor's uncle ordered people to protect her closely, he would never find a man. It's not like they don't have female secret guards in their city prince's mansion. What made him even more certain was that when he just fought with him, he subconsciously used martial arts moves. Although he tried his best not to use his famous skills, it is difficult for people to change their habits. Subconscious movements are enough to make people confirm his identity. The seventh prince is definitely not stupid, but he is not smart either. He Jingheng smiled. I don't know how many opportunities one had to take your life just now. If it weren't for your friendship with Ruai, I wouldn't waste time with you here. Thank you. He really had no place to vent his anxiety, so he proposed to play a few games with He Jingheng. Otherwise, he was afraid that his mother might not be able to be rescued, and he would have gone crazy at the door. In this world, birth, aging, sickness, and death are not something that people can control. He Jingheng whispered, sometimes it is better not to force it.
Haha.
The seventh prince smiled. Don't force it? He sneered, you say that so easily. He lay on the ground, slowly closed his eyes, his back pressed against the cold ground, but he felt inexplicably at ease. You and I are in different situations, so naturally we cannot empathize with each other. Your father and mother are still alive, and you are the only legitimate son in the palace. Everything in your Dingwa palace will be yours in the future. You have made countless military achievements, and your Tianshan people, both the soldiers and the people, have great trust and reliance on your Dingwa palace. You fight against tyrants and punish treacherous officials, and you are extremely powerful. You have been smooth sailing for so many years, and you have everything you want. How can you understand the feelings of an abandoned child like me? He said lightly. Now I only have my mother left. Apart from my mother, I have nothing. For so many years, the only warmth he had was given by his mother. Although he was a prince, his mother was of humble origin, his father did not like him, and he did not have a powerful grandfather. Every day in the palace was like walking on thin ice. Smooth sailing? He Jingheng murmured. Every bit of glory in our Dingwa palace is earned by ourselves and has nothing to do with the blessing of our ancestors. He started to fight on the battlefield since he was a child and escaped death several times. He had countless scars on his body. He fought for his life to get to where he is today. Since you are a prince, you have royal blood flowing in your body. You are no less than anyone else. If you want it, just fight for it. Fight? What can he fight for? He Jingheng saw him lying on the ground, turned around and left. After walking a few steps, he whispered, now the western region is in turmoil, the prince is incompetent and cannot stabilize the country. If you are willing to gallop, now is the best time. After he finished speaking, he left. The best time. The pupils of the seventh prince shrank slightly. Yes, now is the best time. Only by sitting in the most honorable position can he avenge his mother. At this time, in the space, Shang Ruari had already found the location of the goo worm, but its hiding place was surrounded by the most sensitive nerves. If there was a slight mistake, it would never wake up again. This goo worm was transparent, with only the head and tail being red. No wonder she didn't find it at first. This goo worm was called puppet goo. If you were infected with this goo worm, you would become a puppet of the person who put the goo on you. Every move you made would be in the consciousness of the person who put the goo on you. It was impossible to take it out directly at the moment. At this time, the goo worm was lying quietly, motionless. Shang Ruai thought about it, took out a silver needle, and burned it with fire. She remembered that it was recorded in history books that the puppet goo Shilong was afraid of heat, and a hot silver needle was pierced into the head, killing it in one. However, it had to be taken out quickly after being pierced, otherwise the puppet goo would immediately melt into the body, and the person who was poisoned would die in a very short time. The person who put the goo on you is really cruel. This puppet goo, either not solved, or if solved, it would kill you if you were not careful. Shang Ruai gritted her teeth, and her palms were already sweating. Looking at the red silver needle, Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly, and a trace of energy gathered in her eyes and fingertips. At this moment, she felt as if everything around her had slowed down. She stretched out her hand and accurately stabbed the tip of the needle on the head of the puppet goo, and then lifted it up with lightning speed, and the goo insect was lifted up before it melted. At the same time, in Jinxiu Palace, Xiaochu, who was serving the queen, had a trace of blood at the corner of his lips. There was a dull pain in his chest, and Xiaochu hurriedly said, Your Majesty, something happened. The puppet goo that was put on concubine Qing has been solved. When the queen heard this, she broke the chopsticks in her hand with force. What did you say? The puppet goo has been solved.
Check.
Check for me.
Who is it?
The figure of Shang Ruai appeared in front of the queen. It must be her. Ever since she appeared, the western region has been in chaos. Nothing has gone well for her. The love goo and puppet goo have been solved one after another. This person must not be kept any longer. I have given you a letter of divorce. Now, we can only ask the guardian beside the master to take action personally. The queen whispered, if we delay any further, let alone unify the world, even the western region will be out of control. Your Majesty, don't you want the master to take over the affairs of the western regions so soon? The reason why I don't want the master to take over is because of Yun Ting. I and the Yuan family both hope that Yun Ting can ascend the throne as emperor. In this way, the Yuan family will be able to prosper. But now it seems that if the master does not take action, the western region will become someone else's world. Of course, this is only one of the reasons. The most important one is that she had planted the love goo in Junke's body. If he could be controlled by the love goo and be devoted to her, she even thought about being with him for the rest of her life and sharing the western regions with him. But now the love goo is dead, and she had tried her best to survive. What she really wants now is not the world, nor power, but the lives of everyone in the city prince's mansion. Junke wanted to protect the western regions, but she wanted chaos in the western regions. He wanted to protect the child born by that, but she wanted Shang Ruai to die a miserable death. I want the world to be buried with me. She used a secret method, and she didn't have many years to live. My queen, Xiaochu said softly, I will go and beg the sect master. She must have a way. Hee. The queen sneered a few times. Even if there is a way, master will not save me. Master hates people who are trapped in love the most. She had told herself long ago that men are the most unreliable in this world, but she still chose to throw herself into the fire. It was 2 hours later that Shang Ruai sutured concubine Qing's wound. At this time, the seventh prince was pacing anxiously outside the door. He Jingheng frowned slightly. Can you stop pacing? The seventh prince knew his identity, but others did not. When they heard him talking to the seventh prince like this, they couldn't help but be shocked. Is this guard crazy? They thought their master would be angry, but he just glared at the man and sat on the chair. The seventh prince said angrily, It's easy for you to say that. The person lying in there is not your mother. He Jingheng glanced at him. Since Ruai said she can be saved, then she can be saved. You just have to wait quietly. Hearing him say this, the seventh prince's heart slowly settled down. At this moment, the door of the room was opened, and Shang Ruai said softly, Okay. The seventh prince stood up instantly and rushed into the hall. He Jingheng walked to her side, looked at her slightly pale face, and said worriedly, But are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Shang Ruai shook her head. It's okay, just a little tired. She didn't know if it was her illusion. Bringing concubine Qing into the space for treatment consumed a lot of her energy, so much so that she now even had difficulty moving her fingers. Seeing that she was tired, He Jingheng said softly, Do you want to go back and rest? Okay. She turned to the seventh prince and said, I have already given her medicine. She will not wake up in the next few days. If she shows signs of fever, give her this pill. She pointed to the porcelain bottle on the table and said weakly, If there are other things that cannot be solved, come to the palace to find me. I am grateful for your kindness. The seventh prince bowed and said, I will repay you in return. Shang Ruai smiled and walked out the door. He Jingheng frowned and protected her closely behind her. As soon as she left the seventh prince's mansion, she saw two familiar faces.
Father.
Shang Ruai grinned. Why are you here? The king of city's eyes fell on He Jingheng, his eyes full of coldness. Seeing this, Shang Ruai stepped forward and blocked her father's gaze. Father. Upon seeing this, the king of city looked helpless. It is said that girls should not be kept at home when they grow up, but who can tolerate that the daughter he just found is married and her husband comes to his house? Isn't this trying to steal his daughter? You don't look well. Go to the carriage to have a rest. It's okay. It's not a long journey. Why do you need father and brother to come to pick you up in person? If others know, I don't know how they will laugh at you. The king of city smiled. If possible, your father is willing to pick you up for the rest of his life. After he finished speaking, his eyes fell on He Jingheng again. It's better than letting others pick you up. Yes, Ruai. Go to the carriage to have a rest. Jun Ziqian smiled. There are cakes in the carriage. If you are hungry, eat some. Okay. Shang Ruai nodded helplessly, gave He Jingheng a look that wished him well, and walked towards the carriage. The king of city jumped on his horse, looked at He Jingheng and said, How come I sent you to follow the princess without knowing when? He Jingheng had a slight smile on his face. Your Highness, you tend to forget things easily. I have been following the princess for a long time. The king of city tightened the reins in his hands and sneered. Really? Maybe I forgot, but from now on, you are no longer needed to protect the princess. You should go somewhere else. I'm afraid that is beyond your control, Your Highness the King of City. It's getting late today, I won't bother you. I will visit you another day. The King of City snorted coldly. Let's talk about it later. After he finished speaking, he clamped his legs on the horse's belly and rode away. Shang Ruai returned to the palace and hurried to the side of King Cheng. Father, are you angry? King Cheng turned his face away and deliberately said in a cold voice, How can a father be angry? His own daughter is about to be abducted by another bad boy. I didn't break his legs today, which is already a good thing for him. Father, I was married before I met you. Shang Ruai took his arm. You can't be unreasonable. Everything should be based on first come first served. In my opinion, it is He Jingheng who should be angry. You little girl, why are you so unreasonable? Who is unreasonable? If what he said is true, it was Shang Ruai, the concubine's daughter of the Shang family, who married into the Dinghua Palace, but you are now my daughter, my princess, the legitimate daughter of the Jun family, not the prince's consort of the Dinghua Palace. It is impossible for He Jingheng to marry you with this attitude. Shang Ruai held her forehead with her hand. She finally realized who she inherited her unreasonable bad habits from.
Father.
No discussion. The king of city waved his hand. Even if you want the stars and the moon, Father will find a way to pick them for you and present them to you. But this one thing is impossible. After he finished speaking, he walked straight to his yard. Shang Ruai was too lazy to argue with him today. At this time, her body had reached its limit, so she went back to the yard to rest. Jun Ziqian came to the room of the king of city and whispered, Father.
Speak.
What do you think about the marriage of He Jingheng and Ruoi? Among the 4 countries, He Jingheng is already the best candidate. You had thought of letting Jun Luoyun marry to the Dinghua Palace before, but why do you refuse to do so now that it comes to Ruoi? The king of city sighed. It's not that I don't want to, but the world is not peaceful now, and the Dinghua Palace is the first to bear the brunt. An informant reported that the southern border is ready to move, and the Biling border has also begun to mobilize troops frequently. It is only a matter of time before the army approaches. The king of city's palace is not peaceful, and the Dinghua Palace is even more so. If she is sent back to the Dinghua Palace, according to her personality, she will definitely worry about the peace of the world. It is better for her to stay in the palace. Even if she risks her life, her father will protect her well. He looked at Jun Ziqian and said in a cold voice, You should also not put your mind elsewhere. There are still a lot of things waiting for you to deal with in the mansion. There are many military affairs. If the prince summons you, it is better not to leave the barracks unless it is important, just in case. Jun Ziqian was startled when he heard this, and said in a low voice, Sun knows. Coming out of his courtyard, Jun Ziqian looked at the sky outside, his eyes flickering. He walked a few steps towards his courtyard, turned around and walked towards the gate. Your Highness, the prince has left the house. The king of the city put down the robe in his hand and said in a cold voice, Follow him, this evil creature. If things get bad, bring him back to me. At this moment, another secret guard came in. Your Highness, the princess has also left the house. Looking at that direction, she is chasing the prince.
What?
He stood up and said anxiously, Why is that little ancestor going to join in the fun? Why don't you send someone to protect the princess? Replying to your highness, the princess's own guards have caught up. They are very fast, and our secret guards can't catch up. Jun Ziqian's figure shuttled over the western regions. After a while, he came to a forest on the outskirts of the city. Not far ahead, a woman in a pink cloak was waiting there.
Aegon.
When concubine Xiao saw the person coming, her eyes lit up and she called out in a low voice, "You are finally here." She took light steps and walked forward and said, I thought you were not coming." After she finished speaking, she wanted to hold Jun Zigan's arm. Jun Zigan took a few steps back to avoid the hand she extended. Concubine Zhao's hand fell empty, and her face changed slightly. Aegon, what do you mean? You still won't forgive me? I came here today just to send the queen back to the palace. He looked straight ahead and said in a low voice, If others knew that you left the palace in the middle of the night, I'm afraid it would cause gossip and affect your reputation. Aegon, do you know what you were saying? Her voice was a little sharp. If you don't want to take me away, why did you come? Why did you promise me today? Jun Zigan's eyes fell on her face. I did not promise the concubine today. You said that whether I come or not, you will wait here. That's why I came here late at night to persuade the concubine to turn back. His voice was very calm, without any emotion. Upon hearing this, concubine Zhao's face turned red, and she said angrily, Jun Zigan, I didn't expect you to be such a person who dares to do things but not to take responsibility. I am willing to give up the glory and wealth in the palace and run away with you, but you actually broke your promise. Have you forgotten what you promised me back then? You told me that as long as I was with you, you would take care of me for the rest of my life and would not let me suffer any grievances. Have you forgotten all this?
No.
Then why are you doing this? She said righteously. Do you want to break your promise? You were the one who betrayed me first. What's the point of saying those words now? Jun Zigan sneered. From the moment you chose to enter the palace, there was only the etiquette between you and me as a monarch and a subject. As for the rest, your majesty should just treat it as a dream. A cold look flashed across concubine Zhao's eyes. She didn't expect that even with the way she dressed today, she couldn't arouse any sympathy from Jun Zigan.
Aegon.
Concubine Zhao's tone softened. I explained to you before that it was not my wish to enter the palace back then. Now I finally found an opportunity to leave and live with you forever. How could you treat me like this? Not what you want. Junze laughed dryly. Whatever your majesty says, it is whatever it is. Anyway, it has no meaning to me anymore. Please follow your majesty back to the palace. Aegon. Concubine Xiao narrowed her eyes slightly. A cold light flashed in her hand, and a dagger was across her neck. What are you doing? Jun Zigan whispered. Put down the dagger. Concubine Xiao saw his nervousness, and a hint of triumphant smile flashed across her eyes. Jun Zigan already had her in his heart, and now he pretended to be so cold just because he was still angry. If you insist on taking me back to the palace today, I might as well die here. She pushed the dagger towards her body. Sure enough, Jun Zigan's face became even more tense, which made her more certain of her guess. What are you doing? Jun Zigan said in a deep voice. You chose this path yourself. Who are you showing off to? Why don't you believe me? I was forced to enter the palace. Concubine Xiao cried and said, Since entering the palace, I have lived in pain and regret every day. I should have threatened to die at the beginning. Maybe they would let me go. Seeing that he did not waver, Concubine Xiao saw the dagger sticking to her skin, and a trace of bright red blood flowed out, which was very dazzling on her snow-white skin. Jun Zigan was shocked, and just as he was about to step forward, he heard a chuckle behind him. Empress Xiao is such a great actress, and she has such great means. Even I am almost convinced. Jun Zigan paused and looked back, only to see Shang Ruai slowly walking out of the woods. She walked up to Jun Zigan and said angrily, Brother, didn't you say that you would hand her over to the imperial guards in the city to her back to the palace, and then come to find me? Fortunately, I was smart, otherwise I don't know how long I would have to wait for you in the wilderness. Why are you here? Jun Zigan's voice was a little flustered. I'll take you back. The situation is not peaceful now, and she is not feeling well today. What should she do if she encounters an accident? Concubine Xiao didn't expect Shang Ruai to appear here, and her face changed slightly. Why are you here? My brother brought me here. Shang Ruai smiled and took a step forward. Otherwise, how can I enjoy Concubine Zhao's wonderful performance? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Concubine Xiao looked at Jun Zigan and said coldly, I didn't expect you to be such a person. It would be fine if you humiliated me today, but you even brought your sister here to humiliate me. I'd better die so that you can be satisfied. Jun Zigan was about to speak out to stop him, but Shang Ruai grabbed his arm, turned around and said to Concubine Xiao with a smile, if the concubine had such integrity, she would not have encouraged you to run away with my brother today. Concubine Xiao narrowed her eyes, and her heart sank. She didn't expect that her tricks would be exposed by her so easily. Concubine Xiao, you said that you regretted every day in the palace, regretting not being with your brother. You said that the Xiao family forced you to enter the palace. Even so, what about the Heavenly Master? Did you regret it when you were with that Heavenly Master? Did you ever think about my brother? Shang Ruai's words made Concubine Zhao's face change suddenly. You didn't expect it. Shang Ruai smiled. I didn't expect my ugly deeds to be made public like this. She looked at Concubine Xiao and continued to ask, also, I'm really curious. Now that the emperor is seriously ill and the palace is under martial law, how did you, a woman, come to this wilderness alone? I must have my own way to get here. My brother and I used a long time to get here using Qinggong, but the queen arrived earlier than both of us. I think her Qinggong must be better than ours. Shang Ruai's words made Jun Zigan feel depressed. Looking at what Concubine Xiao was wearing, there was not a single wrinkle on her body, and the shoes on her feet were as clear as new, without a trace of dirt. You know martial arts. Jun Zigan looked at Concubine Xiao as if he had never known her. In his impression, she was always that delicate and gentle girl who needed protection. They had known each other for many years, but he never knew that she knew martial arts. Concubine Xiao bit her lower lip and whispered, Aegon, I know martial arts, but it's only for self-protection. The harem is a place where people are eaten without leaving any bones. If I let myself be slaughtered, I don't know how many times I would have died. Do you really think we are 3-year-old children? Qinggong is not something that can be achieved overnight. It cannot be practiced without several years of practice. Didn't Concubine Xiao only enter the palace for a year? Could it be that this Qinggong was practiced this year? The facts were before her eyes, and Concubine Xiao had no way to defend herself. She gritted her teeth and looked at Shang Ruai angrily. I have no grudges against you. Why do you keep ruining my plans again and again? No grudges? Shang Ruai sneered. How can there be no grudges between you and me? Do you dare to tell us about your dealings with that so-called Heavenly Master? Concubine Xiao was speechless and looked panicked. You instigated the emperor to send troops to the city prince's mansion to attack Tianshan and seize the 16 prefectures of Yenyun. You also devised a plan with the Heavenly Master. After conquering the 16 prefectures of Yenyun, you ordered a massacre in the city to make the city prince's mansion infamous. Then you used this excuse to deal with everyone in the city prince's mansion. In this way, there would be no one who could protect the western regions. By then, the emperor of the western regions would be a puppet in your hands. You would then use the western regions to muddy the waters of the entire world. As for the people behind you and the forces behind you, I don't know. But all you want is the entire world, power and status and wealth. However, you have overestimated yourselves. Concubine Zhao's eyes were cold, and her delicate temperament disappeared. She asked in a deep voice, Where on earth did you hear that from? Shang Ruai stepped out slowly and said in a low voice, I saw and heard with my own eyes and ears what you and the so-called Heavenly Master were. You? Her pupils shrank slightly, and she said anxiously, The theft of the private treasury in my palace has something to do with you? Shang Ruai smiled. He took out a golden bell from his arms, on which was carved a lifelike phoenix. Concubine Xiao recognized it as an item from her palace at a glance. It's you. It's really you. Concubine Zhao's heart sank. She had suspected so many people, but no one suspected her. But how did she carry so many boxes away by herself? Since the relationship has been torn apart, Concubine Zhao will no longer deal with the two of them. Now, she knows very well that the plan of letting Junzigen take her away has completely failed. She looked around, took a step back, and was ready to fly away when the opportunity arose. Junzigen had already seen through her intention and moved his arms, but did not use his palm to stop her. How could Shang Ruai let her leave? Concubine Zhao rose into the air and was about to disappear into the night. Shang Ruai flew forward, gathering the internal force in her palms, and a powerful force hit Concubine Zhao's back directly. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Concubine Zhao's body fell from a high place, hitting the ground heavily, raising a cloud of dust. Cough, cough, cough. Concubine Zhao coughed a few times, glared at her, and said, You dare to hurt me. So, what if I hurt you? Shang Ruai sneered. You left the palace without permission. I guess few people know your whereabouts. Even if you die here today, no one will know it was us. Shang Ruai's words startled Concubine Zhao. She knew she was no match for Shang Ruai. Concubine Zhao hurriedly looked at Junzigen. Aegon, I know I was wrong. Please let me go for the sake of the relationship that we grew up together. Junzigen looked at her, without any ripples in his eyes. Aegon, have you forgotten? When you were poisoned by a snake, I helped you out the venom and save your life, but I inhaled the remaining poison and almost died. If it weren't for me, you would not be alive now?
Go now.
Junzigen said in a deep voice. From now on, you and I will no longer be friends and will be strangers from now on. Upon hearing this, Concubine Zhao was overjoyed. She no longer cared about her manners. She hurriedly stood up from the ground, looked at Shang Ruai deeply, turned around and left. Brother, are you just going to let her leave like this? She saved my life. Junzigen looked at her and said softly, Now that I have saved her life, I no longer feel guilty. Just do whatever you want. Shang Ruai smiled. She knew, how could her brother be that irrational person? Shang Ruai snapped her fingers a few times, and the trees not far away shook, and several figures entered the darkness. Concubine Zhao ran for a while, preparing to use her Qinggong skills to quickly return to the palace, but her internal energy seemed to disappear out of thin air, so she had to use her legs to run out of the dense forest. You little! How dare you ruin my good deeds? Concubine Zhao whispered. Just wait for me. I will catch you and cut you into pieces. When she was about to reach the edge of the dense forest, she saw two white shadows flash by. Concubine Zhao's footsteps suddenly stopped. She looked around and did not find any figure. Is it possible that I am dazzled? She was a little scared. She took a few steps forward and saw two more white shadows flash by. She swallowed, and her fingers could not help but tremble slightly. Ghost? Could it be a ghost? Concubine Zhao took out the dagger again, her heart pounding. Just then, a dangerous aura slowly approached, and two huge white shadows pounced towards her. Concubine Zhao's eyes widened. White tiger. They were actually two white tigers. The unique breath of a wild beast was blowing in her face. How could she dare to face it head-on? She rolled on the ground to the other side, and the injuries she had just received from Shang Ruai worsened, causing her face to wrinkle in pain. She stood up from the ground, looked at the two aggressive white tigers, and said in a deep voice, How could there be white tigers here? The two white tigers were extremely tall, far beyond the size of normal tigers. Xiaobai dug the ground with his front paws and let out a low growl from his throat. His fur shone brightly in the moonlight, his eyes were full of ferocity, and his sharp fangs could bite her throat off in one bite. Concubine Zhao had never seen such a scene before, and she was frightened just by looking at it. My legs felt like they were filled with lead, and I couldn't move even a step. Help, help! She couldn't help but shouted. As soon as she finished speaking, dozens of arrows were shot from the depths of the dense forest towards Xiaobai. A man in a gray robe and a mask on his face flew to the side of Concubine Zhao and pulled up the frightened Concubine Zhao. You're here. Concubine Xiao threw her head into He Jinghe's chest and cried, "I thought I was going to be eaten by these two tigers." He Jinghe frowned and looked at the two white tigers in front of him, especially the tallest one. How come it looked a bit like the one that Shang Ruoyi raised in exile? The two white tigers were agile and not afraid of the rain of arrows. They nimbly avoided all the arrows without any injuries. These two tigers seemed to have received some special training. Concubine Xiao said fearfully, I have never seen such a big tiger." He Jinghe's eyes dimmed. Not to mention that she had never seen one, even he had never seen one. The two white tigers' eyes were even more fierce. Xiaobai's eyes fell on He Jinghe, and his nose moved. He had smelled this man's scent before. Animals have extremely sharp sense of smell, especially animals like Xiaobai, who grew up under the nourishment of space energy. He already has some intelligence. He can remember clearly the people he met a few years ago. He Jinghe waved his arm, and more than a dozen men in black rushed out of the dense forest and surrounded the two white tigers.
Beasts.
Seeing that there were so many people, Concubine Xiao regained some of her momentum, and she was no longer as scared to death as before. "Skin these two beasts and pull out their tendons for me. Remember, there must be two complete tiger skins. I want one on the bed, and the other on the chair." "Yes." Just as the men in black were about to rush forward with their swords, Xiaobai's body moved. She waved her huge tiger claws and pounced on the man in black, who was closest to her. No one expected that the two tigers would attack first, and they were so fast that before they could react, a huge white shadow had already arrived in front of them. One of the men in black was caught off guard and was directly pressed on the chest by Xiaobai's claw. His chest collapsed visibly, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. The man was dead. Hiss! Is the power of this tiger too terrifying? A few drops of blood sprayed on Xiaobai's fur, making it look even more attractive. Even He Jinghe couldn't help but feel a little scared. "Come on, kill these two beasts." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw several arrows flying with the sound of breaking through the air. The power of those arrows was so great that some of them were shot on the ground, and the entire body of the arrow was sunk into the ground. This familiar scene shocked He Jinghe. Back then, in the dense forest of the exile land, those strange arrows were like this, all sunk into the ground. Before he could think about it, the people sent by Shang Ruoyi surrounded them. He Jinghe narrowed his eyes and whispered, "Who are you?" How could the Suzaka members answer his question? They all looked cold and silent. He Jinghe looked at them, then at the two white tigers. "Are you the masters of these two beasts?" The answer to him was still silence. Since he came here, how could he have been treated like this? But the identity of the person in front of him was unknown, so he didn't dare to make a move easily. After all, the power behind him, who could tame such a mighty white tiger, was obvious. At this moment, a crisp snap of fingers came from not far away, and they quickly raised their swords, their eyes full of murderous intent, and rushed towards He Jinghe and the others. Seeing this, He Jinghe quickly drew out his sword and fought with them. He himself was not proficient in martial arts, and he had not made much progress in this period of time. He was no match for the Suzaka members in a head-on fight. You know, the members of Suzaku were carefully selected from the Iron Feather Guards, and they were selected after various tests. They are experts among experts. After dozens of rounds, He Jinghe was obviously at a disadvantage. He was kicked in the left shoulder by mistake, and his body flew backwards and hit the big tree behind him. Seeing this, the Suzaka members stabbed out with their long swords and were about to reach He Jinghe's throat. At this time, a silver-gray dart suddenly appeared, and with a ding sound, it deflected the long sword in his hand. The vibration from the sword made his palm numb slightly. Who was it? As soon as the voice fell, a woman in a white robe with a veil on her face fell from the sky. "You are a scoundrel." The woman's voice was condensed, and she drew a soft sword from her waist and swept it towards the guards. Her movements were strange. After several fights, the members of Suzaku were surprised to find that the skills used by this woman were somewhat similar to those of their master. Could it be that they were the master's fellow disciples? Once this idea entered their minds, the moves they used were limited a lot. They only dared to defend, not attack. Who is this? Concubine Xiao asked softly. Her martial arts are so powerful that she blocked these by herself. This is the great guardian of the sect. He Jinghe said in a low voice. She rarely goes out on weekdays. Since the last retreat, she has been in and out of the sect frequently. I don't know why she came here today. Thanks to her coming, otherwise today, you and I would be in danger. Concubine Zhao's eyes fell on the two white tigers. These two beasts must not be let go today. Such good fur is the best she has ever seen in her life. The woman's methods became more and more fierce, and every move was intended to kill people. She seized the opportunity and stabbed a man's arm with a sword. The injured area quickly turned black. Seeing this, the Suzaku members hurriedly took out the medicine and antidote pills that Shang Ruoyi had given them, and they were able to control it. Seeing that her poison was so easily detoxified, the woman frowned. Where did the pills in your hand come from? What does it have to do with you? You are stubborn, so don't blame me for being rude. She swung the long sword in her hand, her body flew into the air, and attacked the people below at a very fast speed. Everyone could only see a residual image, and there was no time to react. The long sword was already close at hand. The corners of the woman's lips were slightly raised, revealing a bloodthirsty smile. Go to. As she said that, the long sword was about to wipe the neck of one of them. At this moment, a figure appeared out of nowhere, pinched the tip of the sword twisted it hard, and the soft sword instantly deformed. The woman didn't expect that someone would be able to take her move, and she was stunned for a moment. Shang Ruoyi frowned, and continued to exert force. With a crisp click, the soft sword was broken by her. The woman looked at the person standing in front of her in shock, and her heart was filled with shock. She never thought that someone could take her sword move with bare hands, and even break it. She quickly retreated and said in a cold voice, Who are you? At this time, Shang Ruoyi was wearing a human skin mask on her face and had changed her clothes into other clothes. Concubine Xiao and He Jinghe were also unable to distinguish her identity. It was the two white tigers who disappeared at some point, but no one noticed. Shang Ruoyi looked at the woman in white and said in a cold voice, You came to my territory, but you didn't tell me your name, and you asked me my name. It's really rude. She deliberately changed her voice. If she hadn't made a gesture to her own people in secret, I'm afraid even they wouldn't recognize her identity. Seeing this, the woman in white whispered, I am Lan Shi. She knew that she was not her opponent because she was seriously injured and hadn't recovered yet. The other side was outnumbered, so she could only introduce herself.
Lan Shi.
Shang Ruoyi's heart sank, and her guess was confirmed again. It's really her. Lan Shi, Lan. The person who turned against her in the previous life and wanted to die with her, the comrade in arms who had shared life and death with her, the person who was willing to sacrifice his life for each other, the person who was not a family member but was better than a family member. She actually traveled through time as well. When she saw the secret letter intercepted by Yun Qi, she had some guesses, and now all her guesses have been confirmed. Alan, you also traveled through time. It seems that there is really a bad fate between the two of them. Seeing that she didn't speak, Lan Shi frowned slightly. I have already introduced myself, but you haven't said your name yet.
Rujuan.
Shang Ruoyi only felt that her throat was a little dry, and her breathing was not smooth. Lan Shi bowed slightly. My young master was ignorant and accidentally entered your forest and hurt your beloved pet. Please don't blame him. It's okay. Shang Ruoyi said in a low voice. I just don't know the name of your young master and which family he is from. Lan Shi glanced sideways. He's just an ordinary family doing business. You need a name to do business. Could it be that he did business with a merchant and didn't even leave his name? Some things you'd better not ask about them. Lan Shi's voice was a little impatient. If the lady wants compensation, just tell us. We can afford it no matter how much silver it is. Do you think I'm short of money? Shang Ruoyi took a step forward, still holding the broken sword tip in her hand. Her eyes were slightly fierce, and the broken sword in her hand shot out suddenly, flying straight past He Jinghe's face. The sword energy brushed past his face and directly cut the mask on his face in half. The silver mask fell to the ground, and He Jinghe's face was exposed to the air. Today he did not wear a human skin mask because the 1,000 human mask has a characteristic that after being used for a period of time, it needs to be soaked in medicine overnight to restore its toughness and fit the human face better. Shang Ruoyi heard He Jinghe mention it, and seeing that he changed into a silver mask today, she guessed that his true face should be under the mask. Sure enough, He Jinghe's face came into everyone's sight. The Iron Feather Guards all came from the Dinghua Palace. Who didn't know? He Jinghe. The second young master. How could it be the second young master? Why was he staying with these people? They had many doubts in their hearts, but seeing that there was no unexpected expression on the master's face, it seemed that everything was within her expectations, so they did not ask aloud. I didn't expect to see someone from the Dinghua Palace here. He Jinghe's face was a little nervous. How do you know me? There is nothing I don't know. Jun Ziqian watched her performance not far away and couldn't help shaking his head secretly. He didn't expect that she had the talent to sing opera. According to her current dress and style, even he couldn't recognize her. Who are you? Shang Ruoyi smiled. You can't treat each other with sincerity. Why should I tell you my identity? Concubine Xiao looked at her suspiciously. Why have I never heard of any power in this dense forest in the early years? Where did you come from? Shang Ruoyi glanced at her and pretended not to know. Who are you? How can you talk here? He Jinghe looked at her face. She was not beautiful, but she was also beautiful. At least she was much more beautiful than Xiao Zhenjin in his arms. He pushed Xiao Zhenjin aside, walked in front of Shang Ruoyi, and said with a smile, I didn't expect that a little girl like you actually knew my identity. Shang Ruoyi sneered. Of course I know that the Dinghua Palace was pardoned from the place of exile, but the returning team did not have the county prince's palace. This lady made a little inquiry and heard some anecdotes. I wonder if you, the second young master, are interested in listening? He Jinghe's face changed slightly, and he sneered. This young master doesn't want to listen. Since the second young master is not interested, then forget it. She pointed to the people around him. Now it seems that the second young master lives a pretty chic life, with servants serving him and beautiful women in his arms. She changed her tone and said with a bit of impatience, But why did you come to me? This lady does not welcome a dog that has lost its home. This young master is not a dog that has lost its home. He Jinghe said loudly. I am from the Tianyin sect. Lan Shi interrupted him before he could finish. How can you inquire about our young master's identity? Hearing the hidden meaning in Shang Ruoyi's words, Lan Shi's expression became more and more unfriendly. Shang Ruoyi sneered in her heart. It has been a long time since they last met, and this He Jinghe is still brainless. After just a few words, he lost his temper and was tricked by her.
Tianyin sect.
How come he has never heard of this sect? Seeing that Shang Ruoyi's expression did not change because of the 3 words Tianyin sect, Lan Shi's heart was slowly relieved. No matter what force you are, you must pay the price for hurting my people. Shang Ruoyi gathered her internal force in her palm, and her hair flew up with the internal force. Lan Shi's eyes fell on her face, and his eyes condensed slightly. Your face is fake. Who are you? Shang Ruoyi smiled, worthy of being the soldier she brought out. So many people did not find that there was something wrong with her face. Only she found it. You are quite alert. Shang Ruoyi did not take off the mask, but the look in her eyes on Lan Shi made her feel strangely familiar. A guess rushed into her mind, and a chill made her body tremble uncontrollably.
Who are you?
Who do you think I am? Impossible. Lan Shi took a step back and tightened the broken dagger in her hand. You can't be her. You are not me. How do you know I'm not her? Shang Ruoyi's words made Lan Shi even more nervous, and an inexplicable panic mixed with a little hatred surged into her heart. Shang Ruoyi originally wanted to get some words out of He Jinghe, but since her disguise had been exposed, she thought she couldn't get anything useful from them, so she just said it. Shang Ruoyi took off the mask, and He Jinghe and concubine Xiao said in unison, It's you. Didn't you know that I was in the western regions a long time ago? Shang Ruoyi snorted coldly. I thought the He family had been loyal for 100 years, and you, as a descendant of the Dingwa Palace, would never do such a thing of killing innocent people and harming loyal people, but now it seems that I overestimated you. You don't want to be a good son of the County Prince's palace, but go to some sect to be the young master and be someone else's son or grandson. Don't say your surname is He when you go out in the future. You can't afford to lose this person. He Jingha heard what he said, as if he had hit on something unbearable. He used to be proud of his background. He thought he was the legitimate bloodline of the Dingwa Palace and was extremely noble. But ever since he found out that his father had the blood of A, he always felt that he was extremely dirty until he was brought back to Tiananmen. She's just a woman, what do you know? How do you know that I, the young master, am worse than the young master of Dingwa Palace? It's just Dingwa Palace. It's just Junwang Palace. They will all be in my pocket in the future. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes and sneered. A second-rate sect only knows those tricks of using women to confuse the emperor's heart, which are just some things that are not worthy of being shown on the table. They want to use this to bring chaos to the 4 countries, and you will benefit from it. It's simply a fantasy. She looked at Concubine Xiao. Concubine, do you think that the poison you gave to the emperor is so secretive? Concubine Xiao was startled. Then she thought of something and said in a cold voice, You knew that the emperor was poisoned a long time ago? How can you be sure that it was me who poisoned him? Hearing her say this, Shang Ruai smiled. Just now I couldn't be sure whether it was you or the queen, but now I am sure. You actually tried to trick me. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame your brain. She smiled, her eyes moving between He Jinghe and Concubine Xiao. But you two are a perfect match. Neither of them is very smart.
You.
Concubine Xiao was furious, but she could only clench her hands tightly. She had no way to deal with Shang Ruai. She couldn't argue with her, and she couldn't win in a fight. She was seriously injured with just one move. What could she use to argue with Shang Ruai? Fortunately, you chose to enter the palace for power and status at that time. We in the city prince's mansion have to thank you for your great kindness. Otherwise, my brother would be so miserable. Her words made Concubine Zhao's face even uglier. While she was talking, Lan Shi's eyes were always on her, trying to find the shadow of someone she was familiar with in her. Naturally, all her scrutiny fell into Shang Ruai's eyes. Lan, even if you have changed your voice and appearance now, your eyes can't lie. The moment she appeared, Shang Ruai had already determined that the person in front of her was Lan, her teammate in her previous life. Shang Ruai, what benefit can you get from helping Dingwa Palace and Chunwang Palace? He Jinghe said in a cold voice. You came to the western regions now. Isn't it because Dingwa Palace despises your identity as a concubine? They don't care about what you did for them in the past. In the place of exile, if it weren't for you, they would have died of illness and starvation. Now they have returned to the western regions and become the high and mighty princes, princesses, and princesses, and they kicked you away. You came to the western regions and transformed yourself into the princess of Chunwang Palace, but you have no gratitude or affection here, but you have to work for them. You look down on me. How good are you? You are just a chess piece. Chess piece? Shang Ruai sneered and pointed to the iron feather guards behind her. You came out of Dingwa Palace, iron feather guards. Do you know? He Jinghe's face changed suddenly when he heard this. Iron feather guards. You can actually command the iron feather guards. Others may not know what the iron feather guard is, but as someone who grew up in the Dingwa Palace, He Jinghe knows the importance of the iron feather guard in the palace. Only the real person in power in the palace can command the iron feather guard. Lan Shi stood in front of He Jinghe and whispered, Young sect master, you go first. He Jinghe had wanted to run away a long time ago. Ever since he knew that the person standing in front of him was Shang Ruai, he felt sore all over, especially the arm that was pricked by Shang Ruai with a needle. The pain that penetrated deep into the bone marrow challenged his nerves all the time. Hearing Lan Shi asking him to leave first, he wished he could hide in the ground right now. Lan Shi's voice was very low, but how could it escape Shang Ruai's ears? Want to run?
Dream on.
She tapped her fingers a few times, and the Suzaka members standing behind her understood and quickly spread out to surround them. Hijinha didn't understand Shang Ruai's gesture, but Lan Shi saw it, and his heart was tightly gripped. She looked at Shang Ruai in shock and murmured, "It's really you. Alan, long time no see." The moment the name came out, Lan Shi's footsteps were nailed to the spot, unable to move any more.
Captain.
She swallowed the word captain that was about to come out. Lan Shi looked at the strange woman in front of her in disbelief, and a storm of waves rose in her heart. The two stood there for a long time with their eyes facing each other. At this moment, Lan Shi swung out a palm, and the palm wind carried a strong poisonous gas, hitting Shang Ruai's heart. In the previous life, she would not be Shang Ruai's opponent. Whether in terms of skills or wisdom, she was at a disadvantage. In this life, if she wanted to defeat Shang Ruai, she could only win by surprise. "Master, be careful." Shang Ruai smiled. She was still the same as in the previous life. In the previous life, she trusted him wholeheartedly and never thought that she would be betrayed by her teammates, so she fell into her trick, but in this life, she would not be as stupid as before. "You stop Hijinha? And the other two?" "Yes." They flew forward and fought with Hijinha and the others. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes as she watched Lan Shi getting closer and closer. Lan Shi saw that she didn't move, and her heart was beating fast. What did she mean? Did she set a trap? She paused slightly and hesitated. At this moment, Shang Ruai's figure disappeared instantly. Lan Shi blinked and stared at the empty ground in a daze. Where was she? She looked around, but couldn't see Shang Ruai at all. "Where have you been hiding?" At this moment, a fierce palm wind came. Lan Shi raised her eyebrows slightly and dodged to the side, but Shang Ruai had figured out her moves thoroughly. As soon as she dodged, another palm wind followed. A palm slapped her shoulder, and Lan Shi's figure flew backwards and fell far away. The next moment, Shang Ruai walked slowly to her side and looked down at her. "Alan, you still haven't made any progress in this life." Lan Shi touched her left shoulder. Except for a little pain, she didn't suffer any substantial injuries. According to her skills, if he really wanted to take her life, this palm would not fall on her shoulder because she just clearly felt that the palm wind had shifted, and when the palm fell, she retracted her strength. "You let it go," Lan Shi said in a low voice. "If I hadn't let you go, your body would be lying here now." Shang Ruai said in a low voice, "You should know that if I want to take someone's life, I will never fail." "Why did you stop?" Lan Shi stood up and said in a cold voice, "You know, if I had just taken action, I would have taken your life. Because there are some things I want to make clear to you." Shang Ruai said in a low voice, "In your previous life, in order to avenge Offeng, you felt that his death was caused by me. Isn't it?" Lan Shi's emotions became obviously agitated when she mentioned Offeng. "If it weren't for you, how could Offeng die? Your medical skills are so high, even if it was just a simple treatment, he would not die." Her eyes were red and her voice was a little hysterical. "If you were not eager to complete the task, how could you abandon him?" Shang Ruai looked at her steadily, clenching her fists. "In your eyes, am I such a person? In order to complete the task, I sacrificed the lives of my teammates? Isn't it? Today, I just want to make it clear to you." Shang Ruai said in a deep voice. "Back then, Offeng committed suicide." Lan Shi's body shook. "What did you say?" "Offeng, he committed suicide." "You're talking nonsense." Lan Shi shouted. "How could Offeng commit suicide?" After he was injured, he found that his body began to fester from the wound, and the speed was very fast. It was a virus that would spread with the air. All the plants that were stained with his blood died within a few seconds. Lan Shi sneered when she heard her say this. "Now you can say whatever you want. Of course, you will choose an excuse that makes yourself feel at ease, but I know the truth. Offeng said that after completing this task, he will marry me. We are going to get married soon. How could he commit suicide? What if the wound is festering? Do I still dislike him? Why don't you understand?" Shang Ruai said in a cold voice. "The virus will corrode his entire body, his skin, internal organs, and even his bones. In that situation, I have no way to save him. So, he pulled the ring of the grenade. At that time, she did not have the mysterious space, let alone the magical medicine that can detoxify, such as Lingquan water. She was completely helpless in the face of Offing's situation. I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen. She covered her ears. You are lying to me now. It's just to relieve your guilt. At this point, there is no need for me to lie to you. If I want to kill you, it will only take a moment. Now I tell you so much, but it's just because of our previous relationship and Offing's face. Otherwise, based on what you did before, I would be annoyed to say more. She turned her head away. In her previous life, she was jealous of Shang Ruai. She was beautiful and had good skills. There were only 2 women in their team. The team members would always compare them privately. Whenever she heard these words, she was very dissatisfied in her heart, but she couldn't find a place to refute. That's right, she is indeed not as good as her. She can't catch up with her in any way. Finally, someone saw her good points, and they were finally going to get married. But what happened? The only person who saw her good points died. Thinking of this, her heart couldn't help but ache again. Offing is the only person who gives me warmth. Why don't you save him?
Why?
You're starting to get stuck in a dead end again. Don't you understand what I say? When can you change this bad habit of yours? Shang Ruai said angrily. I said, it's not that I won't save him. It's that I can't. Am I a god? Can I cure all diseases with my medical skills? Do you remember the scar on my arm? When I was treating him, his blood splashed on my arm. Where the blood touched, it was visibly ulcerated. I had to cut off the surrounding flesh directly. She knew about this scar. She thought Shang Ruai was injured in the mission. Unexpectedly, this is how she got this injury. You have been with me for so many years. You should know my character. I don't lie, and I disdain to lie. If you don't believe it, then forget it. I don't bother to say more. She looked at Shi and whispered, everything in the previous life is just a passing cloud, but since you and I have met in this life, I will not watch you sink into the mud and do such a conscienceless thing. Hearing this, Shi couldn't help laughing. Conscienceless?
Ha ha ha.
After a while, she stopped laughing. The world is bustling, all for profit. The world is bustling, all for profit. Life in the world. Living is nothing more than a word of profit. I didn't get it in my previous life. I want to get it all back in this life. What's wrong with that? Waging a war, the real victims are the people. What good will it do to you if the world is in chaos? Captain, you are still such a compassionate person. What does the suffering of the people have to do with me? Besides, a general's success is the result of the sacrifice of thousands of people. They can pave the way for us, and they can be said to have died for a good cause, right? You are crazy. That's right, I'm crazy. She shouted. The moment Offing died, I went crazy. It was you who turned me into this. It was you. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes, and suddenly, she laughed. To blame others for your own mistakes is the sign of a weak person. You said you love Offing and want to avenge him, but in fact, I can't see any affection from you for him at all. What nonsense are you talking about? I am the person who loves him the most in the world. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be like this.
No.
Shang Ruai shook her head. The way you are now is the real you. This is your true face. She walked up to her. The reason why you are with Offing is not because you love him, but because he treats you well. You enjoy the care and love of others, but the person who treats you well is gone, and the devil living in your heart can no longer be suppressed. You said you were avenging Offing, but it's better to say that from the beginning. You wanted to kill me. Just because I am better than you, you couldn't suppress the murderous intent in your heart. In fact, she had noticed before that she looked at her in a strange way, but she didn't think much about it. It was only when that familiar look appeared again that she reacted. She wanted to kill her and replace her from the beginning. She just used revenge for Feng as an excuse. I didn't. You did. Compared with Shi, her tone was extremely calm. You are a selfish villain who can't stand others' good things. I didn't really know you until today. Shi's face was livid, and his fists were clenched tightly. His nails dug into his palms, and the severe pain spread. Shang Ruai turned around, lowered her eyebrows, and whispered, "What I want to tell you today is that I don't owe Feng anything. He committed suicide in order not to drag down his teammates and to enable us to complete the task of cutting off the eagle claws of the M country. Not only him, but any special agent would make the same choice as him. So I don't owe him, and I don't owe you either. I didn't owe him before, and I don't owe you now. Now I don't kill you, which is a fulfillment of our comrades in the previous life." As the voice fell, she saw a flash of light in her hand, and a sharp dagger appeared in her palm. She raised her outer robe, and the dagger slashed across. "From now on, you and I will sever our ties, forget the past, and only look forward to this life." The two pieces of the robe fell off. Shang Ruai slowly closed her eyes and whispered, "If you continue to help the tyrant and harm the people, it will not be this robe that I cut with this dagger." Lan Shi's pupils shrank slightly when he saw the flash of light in her palm. It was her. The person the sect leader was looking for was her. "Today, I will not kill you, you go." Shang Ruai raised her foot and prepared to leave.
Wait.
As soon as these two words came out, Lan Shi felt a little regretful. "What's the matter?" Lan Shi bit her lips tightly, struggling in her heart. Shang Ruai looked at the battle circle not far away. Almost all the people brought by He Jinghe were lying on the ground. The only ones who were still standing were two guards, He Jinghe and Xiao Zhenjin. Thinking that she was going to plead for He Jinghe and the others, Shang Ruai whispered, "I will let you go today, but if we meet again, we will fight hand to hand. You don't have to think about the two of them. I will not let them go." Lan Shi glanced at He Jinghe and sneered in her heart. Who wants to save him? He is just a good-for-nothing. The sect master wanted a waste to inherit the Tianyin sect. If He Jinghe inherited the position of the sect master, I am afraid that it will not take long for the power that the sect master has built with great difficulty to collapse. Seeing that she stopped talking, Shang Ruai walked forward. Lan Shi looked at her back for a while, and then she turned and left. Shang Ruai tapped her toes and flew to a place not far outside the battle circle. At this moment, she heard the sound of weapons clashing from the depths of the dense forest. She found that her brother had disappeared just now, and the sound of fighting was getting closer and closer. From the sound, there were quite a few people fighting. Shang Ruai frowned. She originally wanted to watch the fun from the sidelines and not take any action, but now it seems that she has no choice but to take action. She moved her body, and the internal force in her palm surged. She swept across with a fierce momentum and slapped He Jinghe's heart. She didn't show any mercy, and slapped him hard.
Puff.
A mouthful of blood spurted out, and He Jinghe's body flew backwards and hit the thick tree heavily. The treetop shook a few times, and a bird's nest fell from it and hit him on the head. He Jinghe was seriously injured and fainted. "TSK, you're really fragile." Shang Ruai looked at the dumbfounded concubine Xiao and curled her lips slightly. "Do you want to join him or surrender obediently?" Concubine Xiao trembled a few times. You are rebelling."
Rebellion?
Shang Ruai couldn't help but sneer. "Who wants to rebel? I am now setting things right, and when that useless emperor wakes up, he will thank me." It seems that you want to be like him. Then I will grant you your wish."
No.
Shang Ruai curled her lips, and now she remembered to beg for mercy, but it was too late. Her figure disappeared like a ghost, and the next moment she was behind her, and she slashed down with a hand knife. Concubine Xiao rolled her eyes and fainted. "You don't cherish the chance to choose, so the only result is that I have to make the choice for you." She looked at the two guards and smiled. "How is it? Do you need me to help you faint?"
No.
The two of them threw the long swords in their hands to the ground. "Are you kidding? Both masters have ended up like this. If they resist, they will not faint, but die. Take them away. I want to interrogate them."
Yes.
Just as they were about to leave, Shang Ruai called them and handed them a bundle filled with grenades. During the previous training, Shang Ruai specifically taught them how to use grenades, so they were not unfamiliar with it. Looking at her flying back, A Suzaka member whispered. When did this bundle appear in the master's hand? Hearing him ask this, everyone was a little confused. It seemed that they didn't see the master with a bundle in his hand just now. What does it have to do with you? Since the master asked you to take it, just take it quickly. They thought about it, and it was true. The master must have brought the package, but they just didn't notice it. Could it be that it appeared out of thin air? In fact, it appeared out of thin air. Shang Ruai rushed towards the sound of fighting. Not long after, several figures came into her sight. Jun Ziqian was entangled with two men in white robes. At this time, Jun Ziqian had several wounds on his body, and the bright red blood stained his clothes. On the other hand, the two men did not have even a single wound on their bodies, and the difference in martial arts skills was immediately apparent. TSK. I thought the martial arts of the prince of a city palace, the future city king, was so good. It turns out that he is so vulnerable. Look at your embarrassed appearance. If it gets out, I'm afraid people will laugh their heads off. Jun Ziqian gritted his teeth. You poisoned me. He did not bring the antidote pills with him today, and at this moment he felt dizzy, and even had difficulty standing. You were caught off guard. Who can you blame for getting hit? A tall and thin man sneered. You are just not as skilled as others. How ridiculous. He swung his sword, intending to stab Jun Ziqian. Jun Ziqian noticed his move and turned his body, but the poison in his body spread rapidly, causing his reaction to be much slower than usual. Facing the sword, he couldn't dodge at all. Just as the sword was about to pierce his body, at this moment, there was a ding sound, and a silver needle appeared across the sky, knocking the arrow tip off. Who? Your aunt. As the voice fell, a puff of pink smoke appeared, and a faint sweetness filled the air. Shang Ruai stood beside Jun Ziqian and fed him an antidote pill. The poison that was about to attack his heart was slightly relieved. Thanks to you. Brother, just take a breath. Leave these two to me. Don't try to show off. Jun Ziqian looked at her slightly pale face. You are already feeling unwell today. Don't waste your energy with them. I have taken the detoxification pill, and my internal strength has been restored. As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to stand up. You are injured. We don't need to deal with these low-level petty thieves ourselves. Shang Ruai smiled and said, Don't they like to use poison? Let's use poison to compete with each other. At this moment, a wailing sound came from behind.
Ah.
What is this thing? It hurts. It hurts. My face. My eyes. Shang Ruai turned around and smiled. Don't you like to use poison? Can you antidote to my poison? At this time, the faces of both of them were covered with blood blisters as big as soybeans. The slightest touch would cause blood to flow out. It was horrifying just to look at. You vicious woman, what kind of poison did you give us two brothers? Don't worry, my poison is just painful, not life-threatening. Shang Ruai waved her hand with a harmless smile on her face, as if the poison didn't come from her hand at all. The two of them took out all the detoxifying things they had on their bodies and ate them and applied them on themselves, but not only did it not work, it actually aggravated the blood blisters on their faces, and they cried out in pain. Shang Ruai watched him struggle quietly. Her poison cannot be cured by any antidote. Instead, it must be cured by a poison that is more poisonous than this one. This is what is meant by fighting poison with poison. The two men were almost exhausted, and their faces were covered in blood. Help! They looked at Shang Ruai and begged, Auntie, we know we are wrong. Please be magnanimous and forgive us. Shang Ruai looked at their clothes and knew that they were also members of the Tianyin sect. I have some questions to ask you. If you answer them well, I might consider giving you the detoxification. Otherwise, the poison will gradually spread throughout your body, causing you to fester and die. Fester all over your body. Just thinking about these 4 words makes me shudder. At this moment, they suddenly discovered that blood blisters had appeared on their arms, exactly the same as those on their faces. I'll say it one last time. It's best if you answer my questions. I don't have the patience to waste time with you. Yes. There was a special potion on the silver needle. They felt as if there were bugs gnawing at the places pierced by the needle, and it was painful. Your young master was originally the legitimate son of the second branch of the Dingwa Palace. How come he has become the young master of your Tianyin sect now? We only know that the young master was recently found by the sect master, and he has a direct relationship with her. It is said that he has been thinking about finding her a long time ago, but the opportunity has never come. It was not until the Dingwa Palace was exiled that the sect master began to work on finding the young master. Another fat man, the flesh on his face trembled, and the pain in his palms and body made his voice tremble. Timing? What timing? I heard from people in the sect that if the Dingwa Palace is at its peak, the young sect master may not be willing to return to the Tianyin sect. Shang Ruai suddenly realized that this was the reason. "Aunt, this is all we know. Please let us go." "I haven't finished asking," Shang Ruai said coldly. "When is your sect leader's birthday?" "The 3rd day of next month." Shang Ruai and Jun Zigan looked at each other. There was less than a month left. "Where is your Tianyin sect located?" "In Jiangbaiki in southern Xinjiang." Before they could finish their words, their bodies suddenly stiffened, their faces quickly turned black as charcoal, and they lay on the ground without a breath. The sudden change shocked Shang Ruai. She looked around. There was nothing but trees. How could this happen?
Jun Zigan frowned.
"It's a goo," she said lightly. "A goo worm has been planted in these two people. Once they betray, the goo worm will self-destruct in their bodies and they will die immediately." She whispered, "There must be people from the Tianyin sect around here." Jun Zigan's body has fully recovered. He clenched the sword in his hand and kept an eye on his surroundings.
"Come out."
The silver needle in Shang Ruai's hand flew out, and before it landed in the bushes, a man in an ink-colored cloak flew out from the bushes. His figure was extremely fast, and he disappeared from sight in the blink of an eye. Sure enough, there were people there, and these people could actually escape from his sight. She had clearly gathered all her energy into her pupils, so it would be difficult for even a mouse, let alone a person, to escape her perception. She recalled how He Jinghe had avoided her sight. The two people just now should have been killed by the poisonous insects controlled by him. The people of Tianyin sect are so cruel and bloodthirsty that they actually put poisonous insects in the bodies of all the disciples. Just then, some mist rose from the forest. "Brother, we need to leave here quickly. The forest is full of miasma. Whether it is poisonous or not, it is harmful to the body." "Why is there miasma here?" Jun Zigan frowned slightly. This forest has existed since he was born, and he had never heard of any miasma appearing here. This place is very close to the capital city. If the miasma in this forest is poisonous, it will threaten the safety of the people in the capital city. The members of Suzaku had already taken He Jing and them back to the city prince's palace. When Shang Ruai came back, it was already slightly bright. The king of the city was pacing anxiously in the main hall. Why haven't these two troublesome people come back yet? The city king looked outside in exasperation, then turned to the housekeeper and said, "None of the people who went with them have come back?"
"No."
The king of the city frowned. Could it be that he encountered some danger? Thinking of this, he felt his heart ached. His daughter had just been found, and if something unexpected really happened, what should he do? Why did Junze come to the palace for no reason? Even if the prince summoned him, wouldn't he refuse on the grounds of being unwell? He met that concubine Xiao there, a woman who has no manners, and went to the jungle to keep an appointment in the middle of a night. I think he has lost his mind after being hit by the emperor. He turned around a few more times on the spot. I should just break his legs and not let him go out so that Roy won't have to go out with him to suffer. He's such a grown-up, but he can't take care of his own affairs and is a burden to his sister. He'd better not come back. If he comes back, I'll break his legs. He kept saying this without looking outside and didn't notice the butler who was winking at him. Ahem. The housekeeper couldn't help but whispered, "This old servant pays his respects to the prince and the young princess." The king of the city turned around immediately, and when he saw the two people standing at the door, he walked over immediately. "Are you hurt?" The king of the city's eyes were on Shang Ruai. not even giving June Zegan a glance, and looked her up and down.
San Roy Ismail, no.
You still say no. He frowned. You look so bad. How could you not be injured? Really not. Shang Ruai smiled and said, I'm just a little tired. I used up some energy when treating concubine Qing. Now I'm a little exhausted. As soon as he finished speaking, Prince Qing glared at June Zegan fiercely. Look at how tired your sister is. As a brother, how can you drag her down? June Zegan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Didn't his father see the injuries on his body? Father, my brother is injured. Shang Ruai said softly. Don't be angry. And I was the one who followed him secretly today, and my brother didn't know about it. The king of city looked at the bloodstains on his body, gritted his teeth, and said, You deserve it. Who can you blame for your inferior skills? If I am not wrong, if your sister hadn't followed him secretly today, it would be unknown whether you could come back. Junze smiled bitterly and said nothing. The king of the city knew that he was right. He knew his son's character best. He was a romantic man. Once he fell in love with someone, he would not turn back until he hit the wall. Because he was just like that. He sighed. The daughter of the Xiao family is not a good person. Even if she had not entered the palace, I would not agree to you marrying her. Our palace cannot have a mistress with a vicious mind. Yes, son knows his mistake. June Zegan rarely lowered his head like this. King Chung looked at him. Go back and let the doctor take a good look at your injuries. Father, I will help my brother to heal. As soon as Shang Ruai finished speaking, she was stopped by King Chung. What do you want to heal? He only has superficial injuries and will not die. Let the court doctor apply medicine on the wounds. Why does he need you to heal him? You have done a great favor by bringing him back alive. You should go and rest and let the court doctor take a look at him. Father, I am not as fragile as you think.
No.
King Chung waved his hand, and Yuqing stepped forward. Little princess, I will help you to wash and dress. Shang Ruai smiled helplessly and had to leave with Yuqing. Watching her disappearing figure, the smile on King Cheng's face suddenly disappeared, and he looked at June Zegan sternly. Come with me. The two came to the ancestral hall in the backyard, and King Cheng said coldly, Kneel down. June Zegan knelt on the cushion and kowtowed respectfully to the portrait hanging on the wall. Do you know why I am punishing you? June Zegan nodded. Son, I accept the punishment. Do you still remember your mother's teachings? As a prince, you were played around by a woman. If it weren't for your sister, are you going to risk your life today, or put the entire city prince's mansion in danger? Do you want those soldiers who followed you to die unclearly? Son knows I was wrong. Even if you admit your mistake now, I will still punish you. The city prince said in a deep voice, You have injuries on your body now, so I will exempt you from the caning. You will be punished to kneel in front of your mother's portrait for 4 hours and reflect on your sins.
Yes.
The city prince looked at the injuries on his body and frowned slightly, but he did not say much. He looked at the portrait again and turned to leave. As soon as he left the ancestral hall, the housekeeper came over in a hurry. Your Highness, the princess did not return to the courtyard. Where did she go? The dungeon. What? The king of city walked towards the dungeon, saying as he walked, This little ancestor, her health is not well yet. What is she doing there? One is more troublesome than the other. When I bring her back, I will definitely take her to the portrait of her mother and have a good talk with her. Upon hearing this, the housekeeper smiled and shook his head. If the prince made a mistake, he would be punished by kneeling in front of the princess's portrait. But if the princess made a mistake, she only needed to be talked to. The difference in treatment was too obvious. At this time, concubine Xiao and He Jinghe were imprisoned in different cells. Shang Ruai came to the dungeon door, and the guard knew her. Princess, why are you here? Where is the prisoner I just sent and imprisoned? The guard whispered, Princess, this dungeon is full of vicious criminals. I'm afraid you will be scared. We don't know who will scare whom. Shang Ruai glanced at him and smiled. Why? The princess can't go in?
No.
He was mainly afraid that the princess would be scared. According to how much their prince valued the princess, if he knew that she was scared here, his life would be in danger. Since you can come in, Why don't you get out of the way? Yes, yes, yes. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. The princess's aura was not inferior to their prince at all. As soon as the dungeon door opened, a damp smell mixed with mold hit me in the face. Princess, if you want to interrogate a prisoner, I will bring it to him. No need. She walked straight down. The light in the dungeon was dim, and there were prisoners in every cell. When they saw someone coming in, they all huddled in the corner. Shang Ruai was wearing a white dress, which looked out of place here. When they reached the innermost part of the road, Shang Ruai stopped and looked into the cell. He Jinghe was still dizzy. She had indeed attacked him too hard before, but He Jinghe's health was also in poor condition. She turned the corner and walked deeper. After walking for a while, she saw a familiar figure. Noble concubine Xiao. Shang Ruai stood outside the cell, looking at Xiao Zhenjin, who was pretending to sleep inside, and sneered. It is said that you can't wake up a person who pretends to be asleep. I don't have to ask you anything, but I hate people acting in front of me the most. Since you like to act so much, why don't I help you and knock you out directly, so that you don't have to pretend here? She finished speaking. Imperial concubine Xiao, who was lying on the mat, slowly opened her eyes, stared at her, and said, How do you know I'm pretending to sleep? Shang Ruai looked at her as if she were an idiot. I'm a doctor. I can tell whether you're pretending to sleep just by your breathing. Besides, she was the one who knocked Imperial concubine Xiao unconscious. She knew best how hard she had hit him. Imperial concubine Xiao looked around. Is this a dungeon? Shang Ruai nodded. You want to resort to private punishment? I'm an imperial concubine, deeply favored by the emperor. If you dare to touch me, aren't you afraid that the emperor will punish you? Shang Ruai sneered when she heard this. Imperial concubine? Favored by the emperor? Tell me yourself, don't you feel guilty when you say what you just said? Instead of using your status as an imperial concubine to pressure me, it's better to use your Xiao family, which still has some weight. What exactly do you want? Her eyes kept falling on the outside of the cell, with some expectation and some fear. Knowing what she was thinking, Shang Ruai whispered, Don't think that your brother will come to take you out. Even if you die here today, the ones who will collect your body will only be the guards and servants of our city prince's mansion. Looking at her gradually stiffening face, Shang Ruai continued, But you don't have to worry. Even if I want to interrogate you, I will never use those despicable means. Concubine Xiao felt relieved a little, but she was still very alert when looking at Shang Ruai. What do you want to ask? Who is your sect leader? Concubine Xiao pondered for a moment and whispered, If I say that I have never seen her, can you believe it? It was the same answer again. It seems that this sect leader is really mysterious. Shang Ruai didn't show it on her face, just smiled faintly. It's just a Tianyin sect. What is the mysterious identity of the sect leader who doesn't even show his face? Do you think I'm stupid? If you don't believe it, I can't help it, but I really have never seen her. Even when she issues orders, it is always passed on by the maids or the great protectors around her. The only people who can contact her on weekdays are the protectors, and He Jinghe. Concubine Xiao nodded. I only went to Tianyin sect once when I entered the sect. The rest of the time, I was in the Xiao family. The orders from the sect were also brought by the maids. Was your order to enter the palace also issued by Tianyin sect? Yes. Concubine Xiao stepped forward and said softly, I am sincere to your brother. I really liked him. My brother has a handsome face, brilliant literary talent, noble status, and outstanding martial arts. There are countless women who like him. It is normal for you to have a crush on him, but you should never want to keep him hanging after you enter the palace. I think this order is not from your leader, but your own plan. Concubine Xiao looked a little unnatural. This was indeed her own plan. In the western regions, Jun Zigan was definitely the man that all the noble ladies in the capital wanted to marry. Many people envied what happened between her and Jun Zigan. She was also secretly happy and often mentioned Jun Zigan in front of everyone. Seeing their envious and jealous looks, she felt so happy. Including Jun Luoyun, she tried her best to please Jun Zigan, but they lived under the same roof for many years. But Jun Zigan never even looked at her. Jun Luoyun hated her at first, but she could do nothing about it. Just when she was full of confidence that she would definitely marry into the palace of the king of the city, the maid brought back the secret order from the master, saying that she would be allowed to enter the palace. It was not that she did not want to resist, but that she did not dare to. Those who joined the Tianyin sect would take a poisonous insect at the initiation ceremony. If there was any betrayal, the people in the sect would activate the poisonous insect, and they would be killed instantly. She had seen with her own eyes the fate of a maid who disobeyed orders. The miserable appearance still frightened her to this day. She was reluctant to let her enter the palace, but there was no other way. After entering the palace, she rarely saw Jun Ziqian. In addition, she wanted to find a way to gain the favor of the emperor of the western regions, so she put all her thoughts on the palace fight. There were many women in the harem. The queen was the confidant of the master. Although she was outstanding in appearance, even a fairy would get bored if she looked at the same face for so many years. What's more, there were so many women in the harem. If she wanted to gain the favor of the emperor alone, she could only use poisonous poison. She controlled the emperor and empress of the western regions, and her position was mentioned again and again. When she became a noble concubine, He Jinghe came to the western regions to become a heavenly master. It was at this time that she got involved with He Jinghe, but she never felt that she had done anything wrong. The emperor of the western regions was an old man, and because she had poisoned him, his body had long been hollowed out, and he didn't have many years to live. The queen was the disciple of the master of the sect, and she had the prince by her side. Even if the emperor of the western regions died, she would have a way out. At least she wouldn't be buried with him. There was an unwritten rule in the western region's royal family that after the emperor passed away, all the concubines in the harem who had no children would be sent to the imperial mausoleum to be buried with him. If she had no one to rely on, she might end up being buried with him. But if she followed He Jinghe, it would be different. He was the young master of the sect. As long as he nodded, who would dare to let her be buried with him? If a man does not work for himself, he will be punished by heaven and earth. She was just looking for a way out for herself. What's wrong with that? But He Jinghe's looks cannot be compared with Jun Ziqian. If it were not for saving her life and power, she would not have committed herself to him.
I really like Qian.
Shang Ruai almost laughed out loud when she heard this. You like my brother? Don't discuss me here. Really? I am with other people just as a stopgap measure. I just want to run away with him when everything is over. Shang Ruai smiled and said softly, I don't know who said that if one day I can unify the world, I will have to share the world with that young master. My brother can't give you the world. Will you want him or the world at that time? Concubine Xiao was stunned. It turned out that she heard everything. Nothing to say? Shang Ruai sneered and said, Let me ask you again. What is the relationship between He Jinghe and that master? Concubine Xiao pondered for a moment and said softly, The master of Tianyin sect is his grandmother.
What?
Grandmother? Shang Ruai froze in place. What grandmother? Where did the grandmother come from? Tell me in detail. I don't know the details. I heard about this relationship from He Jinghe, but... She looked at Shang Ruai, as if she had made some kind of decision, and said in a deep voice, There is one thing I want to tell you. Can you let me go? Hearing her say this, Shang Ruai couldn't help but feel a little curious. If what you said is something crucial, I can consider letting you go. I know a secret of Tianyin sect. You will definitely be interested, but you have to swear to let me go. If you break your oath, you will not die well. Shang Ruai smiled when she heard this. Okay, since you are so confident, I will believe you this time. She raised. I swear, if what you said is indeed the secret of Tianyin sect, I will let you go. If you break this oath, you will not have a good death. After hearing her oath, Concubine Xiao said quietly, The leader of Tianyin sect has some supernatural powers. What? Supernatural powers? What does this mean? She can communicate with spirits and has a third eye. Hearing him say this, Shang Ruai was shocked. Suddenly, she thought of those people who could escape her sight, and she believed Concubine Zhao's words a little more.
Tell me more about it.
I don't know any more details, but I have seen the yellow talisman worn by He Jinghe. I asked him what it was before, and he said it was given by the sect master to ward off evil and avoid disasters. At first I thought it was a talisman, but one time I saw with my own eyes that the talisman lit up, which was very creepy, so the sect master must be psychic. As for the matter of the eye in the sky, I heard about it from the Queen's palace. Eye in the sky, yellow talisman, psychic. So that's how it is. Shang Ruai suddenly realized that if this was true, everything would make sense. It's not strange that there are people in this world who can communicate with spirits. After all, she still has this extremely mysterious space. Those people must be carrying something that can avoid her sight, and this thing was given by the sect master of Tianyin sect. Can I go now? Concubine Xiao walked towards the cell door, saying as she walked, "You just promised me that you would let me go." "Yes, I promised you." Shang Rui's voice came from behind her. "I heard that you in Tianyin sect hate betrayal the most. What do you think that if I let you go, but your young master is still holding me here, what will the people in your sect think? Will they think that you betrayed him?" Concubine Xiao had already placed one hand on the door, and the action of opening the door paused. "If you think it's okay, you can leave today. You already knew that I have nowhere to go now, so I swore." Shang Rui shrugged, turned around and walked to her side, opened the door of the cell, shook her head and sighed. "It's so sad. Now, even if I open the cell door, you have to close the door and lock yourself up. You have such a cruel heart."
Ha!
Shang Rui sneered. "Those who humiliate others will always be humiliated. I am just giving them a taste of their own medicine. Do you think you can easily leave this dungeon after hurting the people in our city prince's mansion?" She stood outside the cell and said sarcastically, "You are a high-ranking imperial concubine, but now it is the dungeon of the city prince's mansion that can protect you." After she finished speaking, she turned and left. Imperial concubine Zhao's chest rose and fell violently. She wished she could eat Shang Rui alive, but at the moment, she couldn't, and it was impossible. Now she could only watch her walk farther and farther away, and her figure slowly disappeared from the corner. Although her figure disappeared, her voice came through. "The dungeon is always dark and damp, and it is the favorite place of snakes, rats, insects, and ants. But you don't have to worry. Those who can enter here are not poisonous." Concubine Xiao was shocked. Snakes, rats, insects, and ants were what she feared the most. Her internal force was sealed by Shang Rui, and now she was no different from an ordinary woman. At this moment, there were some small noises behind her from time to time. She swallowed her saliva, and her eyes fell on the slightly shaking mat. The next moment, a gray mouse jumped out from inside.
Ah!
"Help!
Mouse! Help!"
Listening to the shouts from the cell, Shang Rui's lips curled slightly. "Xiao Zhenjin, every day from now on will be the most unforgettable time in your life." Shang Rui came to He Jinghe's cell and wanted to wake him up. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps came. Shang Rui showed a helpless smile on her face. Why did her father come? But now she has something very important to ask He Jinghe. Her eyes fell on He Jinghe, and she waved her arm and threw him directly into the space. The cells were separated by walls. Otherwise, if other prisoners saw them, they would be scared to death. After doing all this, the figure of the city king appeared from the corner. He frowned and walked towards her with an angry face. Seeing his expression, Shang Rui couldn't help but feel guilty and said weakly, "Father." The city king walked up to her, and Shang Rui smiled flatteringly. "Father, why are you here? Do you still know that I am your father? From today on, I am not your father. You are my father." The city king was so angry that his beard stood up. "No, there is a generation difference. You look so old." Hearing her say this, the housekeeper and guards following the city king couldn't stop coughing. What did they just hear? This princess is too bold. Not to mention others. Even the current emperor would not dare to speak to their prince like this. "You." King Chung was furious, but seeing the look on her face, he couldn't bear to really punish her. "Go back with me."
"Yes."
King Chung turned around and walked 2 steps. After thinking about it, he turned back, took off his cloak and put it on her, and said angrily, "It was just dawn, and the weather was still cold. Are all the servants dead? Don't they even know to put a cloak on the master?" Shang Ruai looked at the awkward old man in front of her and couldn't help smiling. She took a few quick steps, put her arm around his arm, and leaned her head on him. "Father." King Cheng's body suddenly froze. Jun Luoyuan had also put her arm around his arm like her, but he felt a little awkward in his heart. However, today, his daughter's actions made him feel soft in his heart, and all his anger just now disappeared. "What's wrong? I'm tired and can't walk. Can my father carry me?" The people walking behind them looked at Shang Ruai with horror. The princess really dared to speak. When would their prince? Before they could think about it, the broad figure in front of them had bent down. "Get up." Shang Rui's face bloomed with a bright smile, and she lay on the back of the city king. She felt her body lighten, and her father carried her on his back. Neither of them said a word. Shang Ruai leaned her head on her father's back, and tears slowly fell. In her previous life, she dreamed countless times that she was lying on her father's back. It was so broad and solid, but it was only in a dream. As soon as she walked out of the dungeon, Shang Ruai fell asleep. The guard in charge of guarding the dungeon saw the city king carrying the princess out and thought she was injured inside. He swallowed his saliva, knelt on the ground in fear, and thought to himself, it's over, my life is over." He thought the king of the city would kill him with a knife, and he was ready to die. Unexpectedly, the prince just glared at him and walked past him. He didn't stand up from the ground until everyone's backs disappeared. Touched his neck. It's still there, my head is still there. How come it's still here? Based on the prince's character, shouldn't he just kill himself? Thinking of the way the prince looked at him just now, he felt as if the knife had already cut through his skin. It's not that the king of city didn't want to kill him, but Shang Ruai whispered to him while she was lying on his back. "Father, I insisted on going in. Don't blame anyone else." It was these words that saved him. Shang Ruai fell into a deep sleep and did not wake up until noon. "Little princess," Yu Qing said softly. "The prince said that if you wake up, you should go to the ancestral hall." Ancestral hall? Shang Ruai was a little puzzled. "Don't you know that the ancestral hall in our palace does not enshrine ancestors, but portraits of the princess?" Shang Ruai was stunned for a moment when she heard it, and then she laughed. He was worthy of being her father. Other people's ancestral halls were dedicated to their ancestors, but her father's was different. He worshipped his wife. Following Yuqing to the ancestral hall, Jun Zigan was still kneeling there, with a cushion placed next to him. There was a portrait hanging in the middle of the ancestral hall. The woman in the portrait had bright eyes and white teeth, and her eyes and eyebrows were full of brightness. It was undoubtedly her mother. It seems that since she traveled through time, she has never kowtowed to her mother in this life. She walked to the futon, knelt down slowly, kowtowed 3 times and called softly, "Mother." Seeing that the prince had no intention of asking her to get up, the housekeeper thought of how angry his prince had been before and was about to plead for mercy when she heard Prince Qing say, "You are weak, get up." Shang Ruai stood up. Her eyes fell on Jun Zigan next to her, and she said with a smile, "Brother, father asked you to get up. Let him kneel." Prince Chung said loudly, "I see that he is in good health." "How can you see that he is in good health?" Shang Ruai rolled her eyes silently, and everyone hurriedly lowered their heads upon seeing this. Shang Ruai reached out to help Jun Zigan up from the ground and glared at her father. "Didn't you say yesterday that you would ask the court doctor to come and treat your brother?" She pointed at the wound on Jun Zigan's body. "There's not even a trace of medicine on it. The court doctor had something to do yesterday and couldn't come." Shang Ruai looked at him, seemingly angry. How could the city king be her opponent? He was defeated in just a few breaths and turned to the butler and said, "What are you standing there for? Didn't you hear what the princess said? Why don't you let the court doctor come over to treat the prince? I'll go right away." The butler sighed. The only person in the world who can make their prince bow his head is the little princess. Shang Ruai took out a porcelain bottle from her, took out a pill and put it into his mouth. After taking the pill, Jun Zigan obviously felt much more comfortable and his strength returned. Promise your father that you will not take any more risks. I have already lost your mother, and I cannot lose you again. The king of Qing whispered, you are my father's only daughter. If anything happens to you, I will not be able to face your mother when I die. Shang Ruai blinked. What does it mean that she is his only daughter? Where did he put his brother? Seeing Jun Zigan's speechless expression, Shang Ruai smiled and said, I know. You are not old yet. Why are you so nagging? Father, do you know Tianyin sect? Upon hearing this, King Qing frowned. These 3 words, I seem to have heard of them somewhere before. He pondered for a while and suddenly said, I heard your mother mention it by chance before, and it is exactly the same as your question. So, what is the story of this sect? At this moment, a voice came from not far away. Is there any trick involved? Or is there something that I have overlooked? The world is too big for them to control. But although they cannot control the world, they can control the imperial power. Isn't that idiot emperor of the Western regions just their puppet? If I hadn't discovered it, the Western region would have been engulfed in war, and countless lives would have been lost. The imperial concubine Zhao of Tianshan might have some connection with the Tianyin sect. It seems that they may want to achieve their own goals by controlling the emperor. Thinking of this, Shang Ruai's heart sank. The queen of Tianshan was the saint of southern Xinjiang. No matter how you look at it, it is somewhat similar to the current situation in the western regions. She hoped that it was not what she thought. Shang Ruai came to Yi Lao's yard. What's that smell? Shang Ruai sniffed it. What a nice smell. The scent of goo. Yi Lao said lightly. It's made by burning goo worms and then mixing them with other spices. Smelling it will make you feel refreshed and beneficial to your body and mind. Just now you said that many goo-raising families in southern Xinjiang are saving lives. You are proficient in goo techniques. I wonder which family in southern Xinjiang are you from? Yi Lao waved his hands. Goo techniques, I am not proficient in them. In southern Xinjiang, goo techniques are ever-changing, and I have only learned the basics. He sighed. As for my family, you'd better not talk about it. You make me even more curious. Shang Ruai smiled and said, what is the reason? The Yi family in southern Xinjiang has disappeared. In my generation, I am the only one left. Yi Lao whispered, I have no wife or children. I am alone. After 100 years, the Yi family will have completely disappeared. Since it was a sad topic, Shang Ruai didn't want to poke anyone's wounds. It's my fault for being so presumptuous. No problem. Yi Lao smiled. I asked you to come here today because I have some things to tell you.
Tell you?
Shang Ruai frowned slightly. Are you leaving? I want to go back to southern Xinjiang, and I have some things to take care of. Yi Lao's expression was slightly serious. You have been busy these days, and there are some things I should have told you a long time ago. I'm all ears. There is one more thing about Tianyin sect that you need to know. Yi Lao whispered. The leader of Tianyin sect is the former saint of southern Xinjiang. Saint of southern Xinjiang? Yes, only the saint of southern Xinjiang can have such outstanding witchcraft. Yi Lao whispered. Only a saint can raise the king of all goo, because the saint has been nurtured with the blood of goo worms since her mother. After she is born, she will take the blood of various kings of goo to develop the holy body of all goo. The saint status in southern Xinjiang is comparable to that of the emperor of southern Xinjiang. Shang Ruai was puzzled. Then why did she give up being a saint and establish the Tianyin sect? I don't know the reason behind this. Yi Lao said lightly, but once the saint of southern Xinjiang consummates her marriage with a man, she will be deprived of her position as a saint. It is said that she left southern Xinjiang for training, and when she returned to southern Xinjiang a few years later, she was driven down from the position of saint by the royal family. It is said that she has given birth to a child, but no one knows who the man is and where the child is. Hearing him say this, Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly, as if something was connected in her mind. Xiao Xinjin said that He Jinghe was the grandson of the sect master. The old princess disclosed the identities of He Jinghe and his father He Ning'an in the land of exile. He Ningen was born to A. After giving birth to He Ningen, that was driven out of the house. Could it be? There is one more thing, I would like you to solve my doubts. You say, Saintess of southern Xinjiang, besides raising goo, do you have other abilities? Old Yi frowned and whispered, the other abilities you mentioned, are you referring to the strange arts? Sure enough, Old Yi also knew. Compared with the energy in your body, the strange art is not worth mentioning, but the curse is very difficult to solve. Your mother was cursed at the beginning. I couldn't help her solve it, and her health was getting worse and worse, he said with some regret. In addition, she used all her energy on love, and her body energy was exhausted, and she would die. How to obtain the energy of the body? This, I'm afraid, only you know. Yi Lao said lightly. I observe the stars at night, and the chaos is slowly gathering. We don't have much time left. I know. Returning to her own yard, Shang Ruai felt heavy in her heart. Although she now understood the identity of the sect master, she always felt that something was strange. When she came to the space, He Jinghe was still in a coma. Shang Ruai snapped her fingers, and the confinement force of the space disappeared. He Jinghe's breathing frequency obviously increased. Not long after, he slowly opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. Where is this? He Jinghe's eyes were fixed on a familiar figure in the distance. Shang Ruai? Shang Ruai smiled. Why, you have been unconscious for a day and you don't even recognize people? Where is this? He said in a deep voice. What do you want to do? I tell you, you'd better let me go now, otherwise my grandmother will cut you into pieces. Your grandmother is just of your grandfather. Even if she was the saint of southern Xinjiang, it was unknown how many years ago. If you die, Tianin sect will have no successors, and destruction is a matter of time. Shang Ruai's eyes were filled with a teasing look. Your grandmother has such a background, and you still have the nerve to mention it. If I were you, I would have found a place where no one knows me and hid. Shut up, He Jinghe said angrily. What do you know? My grandmother was not a. She was of noble status. She only came to Tianshan with that status. She was the saint of southern Xinjiang. Do you know what a saint is? She is the most noble woman in the world. You have never even seen her. What qualifications do you have to say that about her? After my grandmother, there will never be anyone more noble than her in southern Xinjiang, and there will never be another saint. The most noble woman? Shang Ruai sneered. What's so difficult about that? I can say that too. Besides, how do you know I haven't seen a saint? Shang Ruai smiled. You have also seen her. The Queen of Tianshan is the next saint after your grandmother. What did you say? Shang Ruai smiled. I said, the Queen is the saint after your grandmother. As soon as she finished speaking, He Jinghe's face became extremely ugly. He gritted his teeth. Are you sure? Shang Ruai nodded. Yes. He Jinghe staggered a few times and then laughed. So that's it. Shang Ruai saw that he looked a little crazy and frowned slightly. What do you mean? He Jinghe seemed not to hear and continued to laugh, and tears flowed down his face as he laughed. It turns out that you have been using me from the beginning to the end. Ha ha ha. He lay on his back on the ground with empty eyes. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly. For some reason, she felt a little panic in her heart, as if something bad was going to happen, and as time passed, this feeling became stronger. He Jinghe, get up and explain clearly. Shang Ruai said coldly. If you tell the truth, I might spare your life. He Jinghe supported his body and sat up, his face full of sarcastic smiles. I won't say it. If I say it, it will be worthless. You will still want my life, besides. He looked at the palm of his hand and sneered. I am a rotten life now. It is of no use to me whether I live or not. Shang Ruai was puzzled by his self-destructive look. He Jinghe had always cherished his life, was timid and afraid of death. What happened today? Shang Ruai waved her hand, and He Jinghe fainted again. When she returned to the room, it was already dark. At this moment, there was a noise from the window, and a figure appeared in the room. Why are you here? He Jinghe walked to her side, and seeing that she was frowning and looking worried, he asked softly. But what happened? Something is wrong.
What?
Shang Ruai told him what happened in the past 2 days. He Jingheng whispered, what I want to tell you today is also related to what you just said.
Tell me about it.
When our people found Tianyin Pavilion, the clues were completely interrupted, and the person who destroyed this matter was in Tianshan. He Jingheng said in a low voice, I suspect that someone in Tianshan is passing messages to Tiananmen, or that person in a high position is the real person in charge of Tiananmen. The sect leader we know is just a puppet? Thinking of this, the doubts in his heart seemed to be resolved, and then new questions arose. Who is this person behind the scenes? Boy, I'm afraid I have to go back to Tianshan. He Jingheng sighed. Originally, I wanted to take you back to Tianshan this time, but now is a time of trouble. I don't want you to wade into this muddy water. Shang Ruai shook her head. I'm afraid I can't avoid this muddy water. She took He Jingheng's hand and said softly, Can I trust you? Although He Jingheng didn't know why she asked this, he nodded without hesitation. No matter when, you can trust me. Even if it costs my life, I will protect you. Hearing him say this, Shang Ruai smiled. In this case, I will trust you once. Immediately, her mind moved, and He Jingheng felt a flash of light in front of his eyes, and the scene around him changed instantly. He looked around. This is a place he has never seen before. Farmland, medicinal fields, springs, houses, and there seems to be the cry of wild beasts in the distance. This is my personal space. Personal space? These 4 words puzzled He Jingheng. You mean, you always carry such a big space with you? Shang Ruai nodded. He Jingheng just felt a little incredible. He turned around in the space for a few times. He saw all the strange and delicious fruits she took out during the exile in this space, as well as a pond full of pearl clams. What shocked him even more was the tigers and wolves and the mountains of gold, silver, and jewelry in the space. He looked at Shang Ruai and didn't know what to say for a moment. This is my secret. Shang Ruai said softly. When the Dingwa Palace was ransacked, the things in the warehouse disappeared. It was my handiwork. I also took away the private warehouse of Emperor Tianshan. He Jingheng smiled. I said before that I married a fairy, and I really said it. In fact, when she brought him into the space, Shang Ruai was very uneasy, fearing that he would regard her as a monster. But now seeing his attitude, Shang Ruai's hanging heart was slightly relieved. He Jingheng saw her sigh of relief and the corners of her lips slightly raised. In fact, he had already discovered her difference a long time ago, but he didn't say it out loud. Today, she can tell him these things, proving that in her heart, he is already a person she trusts very much. With this cognition, He Jingheng was happy, and the corners of his lips raised could not be suppressed. There is a person you must see. Shang Ruai took him to a room, and He Jingheng was lying on the ground unconscious. I don't know what he was thinking of just now. He was like a madman. I saw that he looked a little desperate, so I knocked him out first. Shang Ruai frowned. He must have thought of something, or he knew who the person behind the scenes was. Although he said he was the young master and the people around him called him that, but Elder Yi once said that according to the character of the leader of Tianyin sect, she would never let her only descendant show up in front of people, because this is her trump card. He Jingheng is not a peerless master. Tianyin sect's ambition is so obvious that they want to compete for the world and let this idiot take the lead. Do you think this is realistic? He Jingheng's life experience is a cover. He Jingheng said in a deep voice, the purpose is to distract our attention so that they can build a plank road in the open and hide the real young master. Now that the enemy is in the dark and we are in the light, we need to be careful. After leaving the space and returning to the room, He Jingheng looked around and couldn't help laughing. Everything that just happened seemed like a dream. When I first got the space, I felt the same way. What are you going to do next? Nowadays, Tiananmen's minions in the western regions include concubine Xiao and He Jingheng, as well as a queen. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly. She was one of the murderers who killed my mother. I must avenge her. After dealing with her, the western region royal family will be much cleaner. The western region emperor is no longer in good health. Although I have a spiritual spring to help him prolong his life, I don't want to do this. He is incompetent and deceived by a woman, causing the people to be displaced. How many people died in the war? If I save such a person, I will increase the suffering of the people. At this moment, she finally understood the source of energy that Elder Yi had mentioned before. Every time she saved someone's life, the energy would increase a little, but the person she saved must be beneficial to the world. The Emperor of the Western regions was a disaster when he was alive. If she saved him, the energy in her space would probably decrease instead of increase. Seeing that she had made up her mind, He Jingheng nodded. Okay, I'll come find you when you're done with the affairs in the Western regions. Okay. Thinking that it would take a long time before he could see her again, He Jingheng couldn't help feeling melancholy. He gently held her in his arms and said softly, "When everything is settled, I'll marry you back to the palace, okay? Why remarry? When you married me, you were a concubine of the Shang family. I didn't want to marry you, not because of your identity, but because I knew that as long as I married you, Shang Nian and the emperor would take action. So, I wronged you in terms of etiquette. But now, I want to make up for that regret. You are now the princess of the king of the Western Region city. I will re-engage with the royal etiquette to prepare for the marriage, and I will never let you suffer any grievances again." Hearing what he said, Shang Ruai smiled. "Then wouldn't I be a second married woman? What nonsense." He Jingheng tapped her forehead. "No matter how many times you marry, you can only marry me, He Jingheng." At this moment, the voice of the king of the city came from outside the door. "He Jingheng, get out of here." Shang Ruai's smile froze. It was over from this voice. Her father was really angry. "It's okay." He Jingheng felt her body stiffen and comforted her. "I'm here." The king of city's face turned pale. When he saw He Jingheng and Shang Ruai walking out of the room, he was so angry that he wanted to chop He Jingheng to death with a knife. "Father," Shang Ruai whispered, "why are you here? If I don't come, you will be kidnapped by this bad boy." The murderous eyes of the king of city fell on He Jingheng. "I have told the prince before to stay away from my daughter." Is the prince pretending not to understand? He Jingheng smiled. "I understand." "Since you understand, why?" Before he finished speaking, He Jingheng said, "But I can't do it." "You." Seeing his matter-of-fact look, the king of city gritted his teeth. "Come with me." Seeing this, Shang Ruai also wanted to go with him. Just after taking 2 steps, she heard her father's voice. "You stay in the room for me and reflect on your mistakes." This is definitely the most severe punishment their prince has ever given to the princess. It seems that their prince is really angry. "Your Highness." The butler wanted to plead for mercy, but before he could even open his mouth, he was interrupted by the angry roar of the city king. "You are not allowed to plead for mercy, otherwise I will chop him to pieces." After hearing what he said, no one dared to say anything more. He Jingheng followed the king of city to an empty courtyard. The king of city turned his back to him and whispered, "Have you forgotten what I said to you before? Now is not the time for you and Roy to be together. I will not let her go back to Tianshan with you. You misunderstood. I am not here today to persuade her to leave with me." The king of city turned around, his eyes heavy. "Then why are you here today?" "I will leave for Tianshan soon. I will say goodbye to her before leaving." He Jingheng smiled. "Whether you admit it or not, Ruai and I are married. The princess consort of your Dinghua palace has died in the fire. The princess of the current king of city's palace is not surnamed Shang, but June." The king of city said coldly, "Now that there are dangers everywhere, I am worried about handing her over to someone who did not protect her well before. I was not thoughtful enough about what happened before. Please forgive me, but I can promise that such a thing will not happen again in the future. Don't make promises like this lightly." The city king said in a low voice, "I will protect my daughter myself. Why should I rely on others? I believe your majesty has already seen that in this conspiracy, the first to bear the brunt is the Dinghua palace, and the other is the city prince's palace." "That's right. In this case, we might as well join forces to fight the enemy, so that our chances of winning will be greater." The city king looked at him and said in a low voice, "If Ruai's I was not here, would you have told me what I said today?"
"Yes."
He Jingheng said without hesitation. In addition to our 2 palaces, there are also the people of the world. If things develop according to the plan of Tiananmen, the people of the world will be dragged into the war. If the monarchs of the 4 countries are controlled by Tiananmen, the people will all become slaves of Tiananmen. At that time, the world will become a purgatory. Hearing him say this, the city king nodded secretly. I have another question. If the Tiananmen sect is overthrown, what do you think will happen to the world? The 4 countries will return to the right track, as long as the Tiananmen sect never appears. A trace of satisfaction flashed across the city king's eyes. He is not a greedy person. I have only 1 son and 1 daughter. Akian will inherit the Prince Zheng's mansion in the future. If she wants to marry you, I don't want her to marry too far away. But since she has already married you, I can't force this marriage. But my daughter absolutely cannot share a husband with other women. Don't tell me that it is normal for men in Tianshan to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. If you think so too, you can find another marriage. I am also a man. If I really like a woman, there will be no room for anyone else in my heart. If you have another woman, I will go to Tianshan, take your life, and then bring my daughter back. In the final analysis, she must not suffer any grievances. Don't worry, in this life, I will only have Ruai. Remember what you said. Princess, you can't go in. The guard outside the door said softly. Princess, princess. The king of the city sighed. Girls grow up and cannot be kept. Can I eat you? Hearing him say this, He Jingheng slowly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that he has passed the test? Shang Rui walked in and saw the 2 of them standing there calmly and said softly, What are you talking about? The king of city pretended to be serious and said, Didn't I tell you to reflect on your mistakes in your room? What are you doing out? My daughter has already reflected on it. You didn't say how long I would be locked up, and I came out after I reflected on it. She walked to the king of city with a bit of flattery on her face. What are you talking about? Nothing, I just said that you seem to have gained some weight here recently. I think it's because you eat well. Father. Okay, I won't say any more. The king of city waved his hand. I'm tired. I'm going to rest. He looked at He Jingheng. If you have anything to say it quickly. Don't delay the departure.
Yes.
The king of city gave him a warning look and turned to leave. Upon seeing this, Shang Rui asked softly, Is my father going to turn a blind eye? You are already my crown prince's consort. Even if your father doesn't want to admit it, he can't change it. Then you accepted it too quickly. Shang Rui looked at him, frowning slightly. No. What did you say? Maybe. He Jingheng looked at her, smiled, and said, Maybe he thinks it's not bad to have grandchildren around. Hold. Shang Rui felt 2 flames burning on her face. She glared at He Jingheng. You wish. She took out 2 bundles from the space. I don't have anything to prepare for you, just some medicine and detoxification pills. She handed him a few water bags. This contains undiluted spiritual spring water. The water we drank in the exile land before was diluted, and the effect was not that good. Now that she has laid her cards on him, she has no scruples about using the space. Shang Rui took his hand and poured the energy in the space into his body. He Jingheng's body shook, and he felt that the hidden injuries and old illnesses in his body were instantly healed. Even the internal strength that had been at a bottleneck period had a tendency to rise. A crisp sound came from the joints of the body, and the internal strength in the body underwent earth-shaking changes. Shang Rui opened her eyes and removed the energy. Her face was a little pale. She had used too much energy recently. If she continued to use it, the space would probably go into hibernation. How do you feel? It's like a new life. He Jingheng said in surprise. It seems that I really married a treasure without knowing it. The road ahead is dangerous. I can't be with you. Be careful. He Jingheng touched her head. I will come back to marry you after I solve the Tianshan matter. In the study. My lord, Prince Ding has left. The housekeeper came in and handed him a jade pendant. He asked this old servant to pass it to you. The king of Chung looked at the ink-colored jade pendant in his hand and narrowed his eyes. It seems that this brat is sincere, and he even handed over the jade pendant passed down from their Dingwang mansion. After He Jingheng left, Shang Ruai entered the space. Perhaps because she didn't get enough rest, she always felt a little tired. Xiaobai came to her side and scratched her with his claws. Shang Ruai smiled. I'm fine, just a little tired. A trace of humanistic worry flashed in Xiaobai's eyes. Shang Ruai saw this and touched his big head. I think you are just short of speaking human words from becoming a spirit. Xiaobai didn't comment. It can now understand Shang Ruai's words. I want to sleep for a while. Shang Ruai was about to lie down when a strange force suddenly came from the space, as if to push her out of the space. The sudden change caught Shang Ruai off guard. She subconsciously took a few guns and grenades from the space and sent the tigers out with her mind. The next moment, she fell on the bed in a somewhat embarrassed manner. What's going on? Shang Ruai wanted to enter the space again, and a mechanical voice flashed in her consciousness. The system is upgrading. Upgrade? She looked at the gun and 2 boxes of grenades in her hand and sighed. She never expected that the space would be upgraded at this time. At this moment, a shrill scream was heard outside the yard.
Ah!
Help! It was Yuqing's voice. Shang Ruai reacted quickly and rushed out of the door. The scene she saw made her stunned. The yard was full of tigers, some lying down and some sleeping. Where had Yuqing seen such a scene? The water in his hand spilled all over the floor. Not to mention him. Even the guards in the yard were stunned. They stretched out their hands to rub their eyes to make sure they were not dazzled. Where did these tigers in the yard come from? How did they appear after just blinking? They knew that this was their master's tiger group, and they had seen it before in Dinghua Palace, but they could not accept this way of appearance. They did not run over, nor did they fly over, but appeared out of thin air. Master, master. Shang Ruai touched the tip of her nose. It's okay, just let them stay in my yard. Everyone's mouth twitched a few times, turned around and pretended nothing happened. Yuqing picked up the basin that was on the ground, walked along the wall to Shang Ruai, and said in a trembling voice, Princess, what should we do with these tigers? They are all my pets. You don't have to be afraid, they won't bite. Pets? Yuqing's face was pale. She was so scared that she had no blood at all. This little princess was too scary. Other women kept parrots and rabbits as pets, but their princess kept tigers. Shang Ruai patted Xiaobai's head, and Xiaobai let out a howl and followed her into the room. When the king of the city received the news, he was startled. What did you say? The princess's yard is full of tigers. Where did they come from? I don't know. No one in the mansion knows. It's like they appeared out of thin air. As the housekeeper finished speaking, the city king remembered what Shang Ruai had said to him some time ago about her abilities. What did the princess say? The princess said, they are all her pets.
Ha ha ha.
The city king couldn't help but laugh out loud, his voice full of pride. The housekeeper didn't understand why, and his heart was beating fast, thinking that his own prince was scared. My lord, if the princess keeps so many tigers if it gets out. The city king waved his hand. So, what if it gets out? My daughter is different. Who dares to say anything? The housekeeper wiped the sweat from his head. You are not afraid, but they are. Those white tigers are strong and can kill people with one palm and bite people's necks with one bite. Just looking at them is enough to scare people to death. Shang Ruai lay on the bed, sleeping soundly. Xiaobai lay under the bed, moving his ears from time to time, paying attention to the sounds around him. Shang Ruai seldom slept so soundly that she didn't notice that in the middle of the night, a white light rose from the bottom of her feet, covering her whole body in the white light. Xiaobai looked at the light vigilantly and felt that the breath emitted from it was the same as in the space, so he lay on the ground again. At this time, the time in the light cover seemed to be still, and Shang Ruai's breathing slowed down, but the energy in it was constantly repairing her body, like a pair of warm hands, slowly holding her in her arms. After an unknown amount of time, the light dissipated, Shang Ruai's eyelids moved, and she moaned, Mother. Xiaobai thought she was awake, and hurriedly stood up, only to see her turn around and fall asleep again. At this time, in a deep mountain in southern Xinjiang, a palace was faintly revealed between the fog. Cough, cough, cough. An old man coughed.
Master.
Lan Shi's voice sounded. Your cough has come back again. No problem. The old man whispered. How's the thing I asked you to do going? Lan Shi knelt on the ground and said softly, I am incompetent and have not found the person you want to find. Cough, cough. A cough sounded again. After a while, the old man's slightly low voice came from the screen. Really not?
No.
Feeling that her breathing was steady and she did not seem to be lying, the old man continued. Have you found out where Jinghe is? Master. The young master was taken to the city prince's mansion. Humph, the city prince's mansion again. The old man said coldly, It's not enough to harm one of my disciples, and you want to harm Jinghe? Master, your subordinates will definitely rescue the young master. Your injuries have not healed yet, so you'd better take good care of yourself. I'll keep you alive for other uses. She waved her hand. Okay, go down.
Yes.
Lan Shi lowered her head and retreated respectfully. The old man walked out from behind the screen. Although he was in his 60s, his sharp eyes did not look like an old man at all.
Yifong.
Master. A man in black suddenly appeared in front of her. Master. Has the master sent any news? Replying to the master, Princess Shuyang has already left for Tianshan to marry. The master will do his best to promote the marriage between Prince Ding and Princess Shuyang. We just need to wait for news. Humph. Dingwang Palace, I've finally waited for this day. She whispered. Let someone prepare. I'll leave for Tianshan immediately. I can't feel at ease until I see its destruction with my own eyes. But your body. It doesn't matter. She sneered. I've been waiting for this moment in my life. If I can't see it with my own eyes, I can't close my eyes even if I die. I will prepare it right away. Ji Feng's figure disappeared, and the old man walked to the cabinet, which contained a sandalwood box. She carefully opened the box, and there was a golden hairpin inside. The golden hairpin was very delicate, but it was obvious that it had not been worn for a long time. She took it in her hand, looked at it for a long time, and murmured, It's been decades, decades. She can finally take revenge. At this time, the voice of a guard came from outside the door. Master, what about the young master? Young master? The old man sneered. Since he is the young master, he must dedicate everything to the sect. Let him live in the City King's mansion for a while.
Yes.
The groups of tigers in the City King's mansion made the defense of the entire City King's mansion even better. There is no need to worry about any blind people coming to the mansion to make trouble. In the next few days, the space in the body was silent, without any movement. Shang Ruai did not go out. She took Xiao Bai to bask in the sun in the yard all day, and occasionally played a few games with her father. Come again, the king of city said with a smile. I actually won several games from you today. It feels so good. Shang Ruai sneered. No wonder my brother said never to play chess with father. You are a bad chess player. You will not regret your moves. Your chess character is too poor. How can you change your moves back and forth? The king of city touched the tip of his nose. We are not outsiders. It's just a few regrets. Why do you care so much? Your mother never cares so much with me. Shang Ruai glanced at him. There is no father and son on the chess field. TSK. The king of city put down the chess piece and sighed. Forget it. I'm old and disliked. At this moment, Yunqi's figure appeared at the door of the study. Shang Ruai whispered. What's wrong? Master, move. Shang Ruai curled the corners of her lips slightly and was finally ready to take action. She stood up and said with a smile, Father, our leisurely days seem to be over. As soon as she finished speaking, she heard a guard running in from outside. Prince, there is news from the palace. The emperor is probably dying. Prince Qing frowned, looked at Shang Ruai and whispered, Have you guessed it a long time ago? The last time I took the emperor's pulse, I knew that he didn't have much time left, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. If my pulse diagnosis is correct, normally he can hold on for at least half a year. As for why he died in such a short time, I think father can guess a thing or two. You mean someone is plotting against him? If the emperor dies, who will benefit the most? Prince Ching looked at her and said in a deep voice, "You mean the prince?" Shang Ruai just smiled and said nothing. The king of the city stood up, holding a long sword in his hand. "You follow your father into the palace now." Shang Ruai came to the palace. At this time, there were many people kneeling outside the bedroom of the Western Region Emperor. Shang Ruai's eyes flickered slightly, looking at the position in front. At this time, concubine Xiao was there. Her eyes were slightly red, and she was crying softly, like everyone else. Her eyes fell on the edge of her cheek, and Shang Ruai understood in her heart that it seemed that this was concubine Zhao's substitute left in the palace. The queen stood in the front, and her long black and beautiful hair made Shang Ruai raise her eyebrows slightly. This wig was really realistic. The fatigue on her body disappeared, but her face was a little haggard. It stands to reason that she has the mother goo of the love goo in her body. The son goo was killed by her, and the person who is pregnant with the mother goo would most likely die. However, she recovered to this level in such a short time. She must have used some secret method. The queen's eyes fell on her. Her eyes were calm, but her eyes were like poison. "Greetings to the queen," the queen said in a light tone. "Why is the prince here?" The king of city whispered, "I heard that the emperor was not feeling well, so I brought Ruai here to treat my brother." The queen knew Shang Ruai's medical skills, so how could she let Shang Ruai treat the emperor? Although the poison she had given was very concealed, if she came to see, she might find some clues. Now that she had finally come to this point, there was only one step left before her son ascended the throne, and she would never allow anyone to disturb her. "Prince of City, the emperor's health has always been treated by the imperial physician, so you'd better not interfere." The queen whispered, "Otherwise, if there is any mistake, it will be related to the dragon veins of the western regions. Can you bear this responsibility?" The king of city looked at her and felt that she was completely different from the queen in his memory. Even her face had changed. The face was still the same, but the heart under the face was no longer the same heart. Or, her heart had not changed, but she had disguised herself too well before. "Empress." Shang Ruai smiled. "I just want to check the emperor's pulse." "Check the pulse?" The queen sneered. "You are young. Even if you have learned medicine since childhood, can you be more proficient in medicine than the imperial doctors who have been practicing medicine for decades? You'd better stop fooling around." She turned to the guards and said, "Please ask the princess to go down." The guards were about to step forward, and the king of city crossed the long sword at his waist. "Get out. You want to disobey the order?" The queen pointed at the king of city. "This is the emperor's bedroom. You actually carry a sword. Are you going to rebel?" Shang Ruai saw that she was stalling for time. It seemed that the time for the emperor of the western regions was short. If she didn't help him detoxify, it might really be too late. She wanted to use the power of space, but the space was silent until now. No matter how her consciousness tried to contact it, it was still a dead end. With the queen blocking them here, it would be difficult for them to break in, unless the king of city risked being accused of starting a rebellion. She looked at the king of city and saw that his eyes changed. The hand holding the hilt of the sword moved, and the sharp blade came out of the sheath with a cold light. No one expected him to do this. When they reacted, the king of city's long sword was already on the queen's neck. The queen moved her palm slightly and was about to make a move, but she remembered where she was. These people didn't know her skills yet. If she was exposed rashly, she might end up making things worse. "King of city, do you really want to rebel?" The queen said loudly, "You are the emperor's brother. How can you do such a thing? If I wanted this world, I wouldn't have waited until now." The king of city said coldly, "When I helped the previous emperor conquer the world, the emperor was not even the prince. If I wanted to be the emperor, no one in the western regions could stop me."
He was right.
No one present refuted. The western regions could have what they have today, and it was indeed the king of city who made the greatest contribution. Not to mention that time. Even now, if he wanted to be the emperor, no one would dare to refute him. The queen gritted her teeth. She felt the sword on her shoulder without any hesitation. If she resisted, he might really make her bleed. Sure enough, He was so cold-blooded and ruthless to her. She had seen how much he cared for that woman, so she knew that he really had no feelings for her. Thinking of this, she felt sad and angry. After so many years, she couldn't even compare to a dead person. She was furious, and her heart, which was being eaten by the love poison, began to ache. Kill him, kill him. A voice kept circling in her mind. She shook her head, trying to get rid of the voice, but for some reason, the voice was like a maggot, entangled in her body, and she couldn't get rid of it. The king of the city said to Shang Ruai, "Go and check the pulse of the emperor." He looked around, his eyes swept over the guards, and the murderous aura of years of immersion in the battlefield made the guards tremble in their hearts, and their steps unconsciously retreated. Shang Ruai walked towards the bedroom, and at this moment, a burst of tyrannical internal force suddenly erupted behind her, and the visible internal force fluctuations spread around with the queen as the center. The king of the city, who was closest to her, was the first to be hit, and his body flew backwards, and the long sword in his hand drew a long mark on the ground. "The city king is rebelling, come. Take him down," the queen said in a cold voice. "Those who disobey my order will be beheaded." As soon as the voice fell, those people from the Tianyin sect who were dressed as guards drew out the long swords from their waists and stabbed at the city king and Shang Ruai with agile movements. The city king had been through hundreds of battles and was not afraid. He stood up from the ground and went to meet them. The queen looked at Shang Ruai with a gloomy look, drew out the long whip from her waist, pressed the handle, and the whip instantly grew barbs. Each barb flashed with a dark green light, and it was obvious that it was poisoned. "Stinky girl, you have ruined my good deeds many times. Today I will personally kill you," the queen said in a cold voice. "Neither of you, father or daughter, can escape." Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes, and her heart sank. The queen's internal strength seemed to be higher than before. She drew out the short sword from her waist and flew up. Now that the space was silent, she had to be careful everywhere. The queen's whip skills were very good. Although the dagger in Shang Ruai's hand was made of fine steel, it was very difficult to get close to the queen if it was not superior to the whip. After dozens of rounds, the two were evenly matched, but at this time, more and more imperial guards poured in. Although the king of city was very skilled, he could not defeat them with two fists. In a round-robin battle, even the best physical strength would eventually run out. Seeing this, Shang Ruai made a feint and retreated. The dagger in her hand swept across, and the sword tip swept across their necks. In the blink of an eye, a large number of guards disguised as disciples of Tianyin sect fell down. Seeing this, the queen gritted her teeth and quickly rushed towards Shang Ruai. Shang Ruai came to the king of city and stuffed a detoxification pill into his mouth. The next moment, her body flew into the air, pinched the medicine bag in her hand, and urged it with her internal force. The powder fell like smoke. "Hold your breath." But it was too late. The smoke spread too quickly. Many people had already inhaled it and instantly lost consciousness and fell down. "Do you think holding your breath will be enough?" Shang Ruai sneered. "It's not that easy to avoid my poison." People began to fall down one after another. Once the powder touched the skin, it would slowly. Although the effect was not as fast as direct inhalation, it would also make people lose their combat effectiveness. "I didn't expect you to be so capable." The queen felt that her body was also a little weak, and she quickly took a few pills which relieved a little. At this time, the only ones standing here were the queen and a few guards with strong martial art skills, as well as the city king and Shang Ruai. Ahem. The city prince wiped the blood from his lips and said in a cold voice, "Ruai, go check the emperor's pulse first. Your father is here to support you." "Humph, you see it and even save yourself now, and you're still thinking about saving that idiot's life," the queen said in a cold voice. "Now the palace is full of my people, and several generals are already guarding outside the palace." She took out a box with a tiger talisman in it. "Now, the entire western region's army is in my hands. Even if there are 10,000 people in your city prince's mansion, it is not enough for me to chop for an hour. If you still want your life, just surrender. Otherwise, you your children, your entire city prince's mansion, and I alone will not spare a single life." The city prince said in a deep voice, "You, the evil queen, dared to harm the emperor's life, and now you want to control the throne. Even if I use up my last bit of strength, I will not let you do as you wish."
Hee.
The queen sneered. "You are really loyal. You actually want to spare the life of such a foolish and incompetent monarch, and try your best for him. If you put this little thought into me, I will definitely treat your city prince's mansion well." "You are dreaming." The city prince sneered. "Put this thought into you? You'd better not disgust me." Upon hearing this, the queen's eyes suddenly stood up, and she looked at him with eyes like a poisonous snake. After a while, she suddenly laughed out loud. "It doesn't matter if you don't like me. Whoever you like, I will kill. Do you know the miserable condition of the woman you like when she is poisoned? Do you know how painful it is for her to be tortured by poison?" Upon hearing this, the city prince felt his heart being grabbed. "What did you say?" The queen saw his pain, with a look of satisfaction on her face. "I said, that woman was tortured by poison and was in great pain. I will kill you." At this moment, a warm little hand grabbed his arm and whispered, "Father, don't listen to this woman's nonsense. She is suffering from paranoia." Shang Rui glanced at the queen. "My mother is immune to all poisons. How could she be tortured by the poison she gave her?" The king of city was slightly stunned. The queen waved the long whip in her hand, making a harsh sound. "You. How can you have the right to speak? Are you angry because your lie was exposed?" Shang Rui sneered. "It's sad to be unable to get the love you want." "Shut up. I have seen how beautiful my mother is. With your appearance, even if you throw yourself at me, my father won't even bother to look at you. You'd better not waste your energy." The queen was so angry that she wanted to tear her mouth apart. She looked at the sky and saw that the time was almost up. She raised her chin slightly and said proudly, "If I can't get it, I'll kill him. It won't be long before this country belongs to me. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit." You two, father and daughter, entered the palace with knives, poisoned the emperor, and intended to usurp the throne. I can accuse you of these crimes. As long as you die in my hands, I will have you. You are dreaming if you want to put this crime on our city prince's mansion. Sensing several auras, Shang Rui said coldly, "Where is Zhuke?" As soon as the voice fell, several figures suddenly rose from the surroundings of the palace and landed in the four corners of the palace. "My subordinates are here. Guard this place well. I need to treat patients. If there is anyone who doesn't have eyes, just throw this to him and him to pieces. I want to see if there are any loyal souls left in the world." Shang Rui took out 2 grenades and threw them out. She only brought 3 grenades today, leaving 1 for emergency use. "Yes, sir." The queen looked at the black grenade with a gloomy heart. She had never seen this thing, but she had heard people say that it had flames and great power. But after all, she had only heard about it and had never seen its power, so she naturally had some doubts. "You don't have to exaggerate here. If it is true as you said, why didn't you take it out just now?" "Just now, in this courtyard, besides you and your men, there were also ladies from various palaces. I don't want to hurt innocent people. Otherwise, do you think you can still jump around here?" she said bluntly, and the queen's face became gloomy again. "If you don't accept it, you can try it." Shang Rui sneered. "I don't kill you now just because I don't want my father and the Prince of Qing to be charged with treason, but your good days are over." She looked at the queen with cold eyes. "I must settle my mother's revenge with you." Although her mother was not killed by the queen herself, her mother's physical failure must be related to the Tianyin sect. The queen's eyes were slightly fierce. Shang Rui turned around and walked towards the hall, and the queen did not move.
Ah.
Sharp pain came from the calf. Shang Rui turned her back to her, and the black muzzle of the gun was facing her leg. "I said I just don't kill you now, not that I can't kill you." Her voice was cold. "I just want you to see with your own eyes the day when the building you built with your own hands collapses." As soon as the voice fell, her figure disappeared into the palace door. Shang Rui came to the bedroom, which was empty, without a single person. She walked to the dragon bed, and her eyes fell on the face of the Western Region Emperor. At this time, both sides of his cheeks had completely collapsed, and his face was full of death. Even if he used the spiritual spring water, it could only prolong his life for a short time. She took out a pill and put it into the mouth of the Western Region Emperor. The energy in the spiritual spring water slowly seeped into his body. Not long after, the Western Region Emperor opened his eyes and looked at the person in front of him with turbid eyes. He could only see the vague figure in front of him and had no idea who that person was. My beloved concubine? The Western Region Emperor's voice was dry. Is it you, my beloved concubine? Shang Ruai did not speak. The Western Region Emperor sighed and whispered, I know, it's not you. May the Emperor be well. Shang Ruai's voice was low. It's you. The Western Region Emperor blinked his eyes and barely saw the outline of the person in front of him. He twitched the corners of his lips. May you be well? These two words sounded really ironic at this moment. Why are you here? If it weren't for me, you would have died now. The Emperor of the Western Regions paused. It was you who saved me. You just said that you knew I was not your concubine, Xiao. Why did you say that? They all wish I would die immediately. He coughed a few times and said lightly, Thank you for saving me. I will definitely reward you heavily. Shang Ruai smiled and shook her head when she heard this. You don't have to thank me. I didn't save you. I just helped you delay your life for 2 days. I did this just to let you see who is truly suitable to be the king. The Emperor of the Western Regions looked stunned, as if it was hard for him to believe that his life was about to come to an end. After a long while, he held back his anger and shouted in a deep voice, I am the Emperor. I will live forever. Shang Ruai sneered when she heard it. You just said it to please yourself. Why? Your father is not the Emperor. Did he live to be 10,000 years old? The Emperor of the Western Regions looked at her and smiled. You are very brave, girl. I am still the Emperor now. Aren't you afraid that I will punish you if you say this? You'd better save your breath. You can try it. Who can you order around in the palace now? I'm afraid that not even a maid will listen to your command. It's really pitiful that the Emperor has done what you have. She pointed outside the door and said, Now those standing, sitting, and lying outside are all waiting for you to die so that they can divide up the Western regions. Your queen wants her son to succeed to the throne immediately, and she is unwilling to wait even half a year. She poisoned you and wanted to kill you directly. Your favorite concubine, Concubine Xiao, wanted to elope with her lover as early as the day you fell ill. Her lover is the heavenly master you trust the most. Shang Ruai smiled. That heavenly master is not the man with all the means you believe in. He is the young master of the Tianyin sect and intends to use your Western regions to disrupt the whole world. I don't know what their ultimate goal is, but it is definitely not to let you ascend to the position of the true emperor. She said a lot of things in a fluent manner, and every time she said something, the face of the emperor of the Western regions darkened. Hearing the end, he finally realized that the person he had trusted the most for a long time had been using him, calculating him, and wanted his country and life, while the king of the city, who he had always been suspicious of, was always protecting the Western regions. How do you want me to trust you? The emperor of the Western regions narrowed his eyes. You are the crown prince's consort of the Ding kingdom. How do I know if you say this for some purpose? Shang Ruai smiled. Now the Western regions is just an empty shell. I think other countries have also received the news. If they want to conquer the Western regions, it won't take much effort. What do I need an empty shell for? But the jade unicorn in your collection is really exquisite. As soon as she finished speaking, the emperor of the Western region's face turned red visibly. He struggled to sit up, staring at her. It's you. It's you. Shang Ruai nodded. Don't worry. If the next monarch is a good one, I will definitely return everything I have taken from the treasury. The emperor of the Western regions lay limp on the bed, as if he had lost all his strength. He looked up with empty eyes for a long while, then sneered. You are right. It is really aggrieved for an emperor to be like this. Among all my sons, only the prince is the one who loves me the most, but he wants me to die. She looked at Shang Ruai. Who do you think is more suitable to inherit my position among my sons? This is your own business. How can I, an outsider, influence the succession? The emperor of the western regions looked at her and smiled. You just said that I still have 2 days to live. But is it true? 2 days at most. She took the pulse of the emperor of the western regions. The poison in his body was not resolved, and he was just keeping alive with pills. If he didn't take the medicine, he might not even survive 2 hours. I want to go to court. Do you have any way? Shang Ruai nodded. Yes, there is, but it will consume your life faster. It doesn't matter, he said lightly. Instead of lying in bed half dead and waiting to die, it's better to be happy. I want to see the mountains and rivers of the western regions again. Shang Ruai took out a red pill and said in a deep voice, After taking this, your consciousness will be clear for 12 hours, like a normal person, but once this time passes, you will gradually lose consciousness until the end of your life and you will never wake up again. Upon hearing this, the Western Region Emperor took the pill and put it in his mouth. Even if it's only 1 day, I want to live decently. At this time, the queen bandaged the wound on her leg. She cut open the skin and flesh on her leg and took out the bullet inside. She looked at the hidden weapon she had never seen before, and her heart sank slightly. What on earth is this thing? It is so powerful. She handed the bullet to the Tianyin sect disciple behind her. Be sure to send this to the sect master. The city king's eyes fell on her legs, and his eyes narrowed slightly. This woman's means are really cruel. She was so determined to attack him. He saw her cut the flesh on his leg with his own eyes. The queen looked at the Western Region Emperor. Why? Are you attracted by my beauty now? The city king was too lazy to pay attention to her. Yunqi, who was behind the city king, couldn't help but sneered. Is your leg or brain injured? The queen's face turned pale when she heard this. Who do you think you are? You even dare to ridicule me. You are the queen, but the things you do are not worthy of being on the stage. In the words of our master, you are a maggot in the gutter, disgusting to the extreme. Yunqi was originally a taciturn person. Since he followed Shang Ruai, he has become more and more talkative, especially in scolding people. Sometimes even Shang Ruai has to admit defeat. You. The queen's body moved slightly. The wound on her leg was piercingly painful. The gauze that had just been bandaged was dyed red again, and beads of sweat as big as beans dripped from her head. At this moment, a group of blackbirds flew over the palace. The queen's face was happy when she saw this. Here they come. Finally here.
Squeak.
The tightly closed palace was opened from the inside, and Shang Ruai walked out slowly from inside. Seeing that there was no one behind her, the queen had a smug smile on her face. Isn't she known as a miracle doctor? Wasn't it said that she could definitely cure it? How is it now? Shang Ruai's face had no expression. The queen thought that she had hit her soft spot, and the smile on her face became more smug. My poison, can it be cured by ordinary people? She stared at King Cheng and Shang Ruai fiercely. No one can stand in the way of me and the prince. No matter who it is, if they get in my way, they must die. Even if your mother died, you can't escape it. Really? Hearing her say this, Shang Ruai raised a smile on her face. That's what I've been waiting for you to say. What do you mean? Seeing the smile on her face, the queen felt a little panic in her heart. You. Before she finished speaking, a bright yellow figure walked out of the palace. The man in front of him looked thinner, but not tired. His eyes were bright, and he looked much more energetic than before he was poisoned. Your Majesty? The queen's chest rose and fell violently. How could you? The emperor of the western regions looked at her with a faint smile on his face. Why, after not seeing you for a few days, the queen doesn't recognize me? Or did you not expect that I could still be alive? The queen's eyes fell on Shang Ruai. What did you do? What did you do? Nothing, just detoxification. Shang Ruai said lightly. I said, I want to watch you destroy yourself, watch you lose everything. Even if I have to bet all my medical skills, I will you from the king of.
You.
The queen gritted her teeth. I will kill you.
Queen.
The emperor of the western region said in a deep voice. Over the years, I know how many evil things you have done, but I just don't want to pursue it. But this time, you want my life. I have to punish you." Hearing this, the queen sneered. "Punish me? What a joke." She pointed her index finger at the emperor of the western regions and said contemptuously, "What are you going to use to punish me? Now, everyone in the palace is my people. You can try. Who else here can listen to your command? You're just a puppet." She sneered. "It won't be long before you, and the only person in the world who can be loyal to you will go to. By the way, there is also the seventh prince's biological mother, that stupid woman. I will let her go down to accompany you. After all, she is really loyal and wholehearted to you." Empress Qing? The Western region emperor narrowed his eyes. "What did you do?" She gave concubine Qing a puppet goo. The queen looked at her. "It's really you. It was you who removed the goo, wasn't it?" "That's right." Shang Ruai smiled. "It seems that you are not stupid. I should have killed you long ago. I shouldn't have kept you until now. There is one thing I don't understand, and I would like to ask the queen to explain it to me." Shang Ruai whispered. "Since you used the puppet goo to control concubine Qing, why did you let her become crazy?" "It wasn't me who made her crazy. It was herself." The queen looked at the black bird standing on the palace, smiled, and said, "I didn't want to tell you the reason, but since you want to be the one who knows the truth, I'm not such a heartless person." She said lightly, "I used a goo to control her, and wanted her to poison the emperor's food, but for some reason, she broke free at the critical moment. Compared with her own consciousness and the goo, she became like that. But she should thank herself for becoming crazy, otherwise I would have killed her long ago. The reason I kept her was just that I didn't want people to associate her death with me. So that's it."
Okay.
The queen smiled. "I have said everything I need to say." She looked at the city king. "Are you sure you don't want to live with me?" The city king protected Shang Ruai and said coldly, "Don't dream anymore. You are stubborn." The queen said coldly, "In this case, don't regret it. It will be too late to regret it when you go to in the future." She opened her arms, and her internal force rose around her. She said in a deep voice, "Welcome to the Great Elder." As soon as the voice fell, a figure of a white-haired old man suddenly appeared, and the tyrannical internal force formed a circle, and the air in the circle was slightly distorted. If this internal force fell, the people in the courtyard would be very unlikely to survive. The white-haired old man looked at the people in the courtyard, without any emotional fluctuations in his eyes, and looked indifferent, as if he was not a living person. "Grand Elder," the queen said respectfully, "thank you for your help. You useless thing, you can't even handle such a small matter, and I have to do it myself." His eyes fell on Shang Ruai, his eyebrows slightly raised, and he smiled evilly a few times. "Little thing, quite interesting." The moment she saw the so-called Great Elder, Shang Ruai felt uncomfortable all over, as if she was stared at by something disgusting. "Little thing, come here, let me take a look." The old man waved his hand, pretending to be kind, with a smile on his face. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly, and the pistol slipped into her palm. The king of city blocked Shang Ruai behind him and said softly, "This person has extremely high internal strength. You will have a chance to leave quickly later. Don't worry about your father." Shang Ruai didn't say anything. The king of city just thought she agreed, but how could Shang Ruai really leave alone? What's more, she felt that this old thing seemed to know her secret, and the look in his eyes when he looked at her was like a vicious dog staring at a piece of fat meat. "Who are you?" the king of city asked coldly. He. The old man stroked his beard and said lightly, "I am the Great Elder of Tianyin sect. You ants are not worthy of my attack." His eyes fell on Shang Ruai, and he smiled and said, "However, I like this little thing very much." He turned and looked at the queen. "You did a good job. When I return to the sect, I will tell the sect master, and I will reward you handsomely." "Thank you, Great Elder." The queen was delighted, thinking that her son's position as the emperor of the western regions would surely be secure. The old man slowly descended from the height, his eyes always on Shang Ruai. "Do you want to go back to Tianyin sect with me?" Shang Ruai glanced at him. "Don't even think about it." "Humph. You don't know how to appreciate it. The smile on the old man's face suddenly disappeared. If you agree to go back to Tianyin sect with me, I will definitely save your life. Otherwise, you will be hunted down by Tianyin sect to the ends of the earth. Tianyin sect disciples are all over the world. It will only take a blink of an eye for them to kill you. All over the world? Shang Ruai walked out from behind the city king. You are not young, old man. Why do you like to brag so much? Do you know how big the four seas are? Have you really walked there? Do you know what is on the other side of the sea? Are there other countries? Are there any civilizations that you don't know about yet? You don't even consider your own weight, and you just talk about the four seas and 8 wildernesses. You have delusions. Delusions? Although they didn't know what this delusion was, they could guess it almost right just from the literal meaning. The old man had been in a high position for many years. How could he have been ridiculed like this? You little brat, don't be so shameless. Who is so shameless? You are from Tianyin sect, but you want to take over the whole world. Don't you even consider whether you are destined to be the emperor? Shang Ruai sneered. Why, just because you look old, you are right? If I don't teach you a lesson today, I will be unworthy of being the great elder of Tianyin sect. As soon as he finished speaking, the powerful internal force gathered in his palm, and he pushed his arm forward, and 2 internal force waves suddenly blasted out. A strong wind blew around, and everyone's dresses flew up. Give me your life. As soon as the voice fell, the powerful palm wind came quickly. The king of the city looked stern, and hurriedly blocked in front of Shang Ruai. The Western region emperor hid back in the palace and disappeared. At this time, Shang Ruai had no energy to care about him. If she was right, this person should be the one with the deepest internal force she had ever seen. He saw the king of the city protecting Shang Ruai behind him and snorted coldly. An ant trying to shake a tree is nothing but a group of ants.
Go.
The king of the city said loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a pulling force. Looking back, he saw Shang Ruai pulling his arm and shaking it hard. His body suddenly flew towards the hall behind. When he fell into the hall, Shang Ruai waved her arm, and the door of the hall closed. Ruai, Ruai. The king of the city walked to the door and was about to open it when he heard a voice. Follow me. The palm wind was already close at hand. The old man had a sneer on his lips. If she didn't dodge this palm, she would be seriously injured. Shang Ruai raised her palm, and the internal force in her dantian gathered in her palm, emitting a faint light. She pushed hard, and a wave of internal force appeared, whistling towards the palm wind. The old man paused, stroking his beard, looked at her in surprise, and said in a deep voice, "How can she have such a profound internal force?" The queen was also shocked. Her skills far exceeded hers. At this time, the 2 palm winds met, raising waves of this woman must not be left alive. The old man narrowed his eyes slightly, and his body quickly swept toward Shang Ruai. She also saw his movements, turned his palm, and pointed the black muzzle of the gun at the old man's eyebrows. The moment she took out the pistol, the old man noticed it. Grand Elder, be careful of the hidden weapon in her hand. The queen hurriedly reminded. It's just a trick. He flashed and changed direction to attack her from behind. Shang Ruai's lips curled slightly, and the pistol turned.
Ah!
The familiar screams rang again. The queen could no longer hold on and knelt on the ground. At this moment, the old man's palm was only a few inches away from her from behind. You are not qualified to take my life. She shook her arm, and a powerful force suddenly appeared, and the palm that had just landed on her was directly shaken away. The old man took more than 10 steps back and barely stabilized his body. He put his hands behind his back to hide his slightly trembling hands. Shang Ruai suppressed the fishy sweetness in her throat, turned around and looked at the queen who was already kneeling on the ground, pulled the corners of her lips and smiled. This is just the first step. Your initial target is me. My mother's revenge has not been avenged yet. How can I allow you to leave alive? Shang Ruai said coldly. What's going on with my mother's body? The queen glared at her. You want to know, but I won't tell you.
Hee hee.
Shang Ruai smiled. It doesn't matter if you don't say it. After speaking, she raised the pistol again. Now you are kneeling in the direction of Tianshan, which is the burial place of my mother. The gunshot rang again.
Ah.
This time, she accurately shot the queen on the left shoulder blade. At this time, the old man's hand finally regained consciousness. How dare you? You actually want to slaughter our Tianyin sect disciples in front of me. You talk too much nonsense. Shang Ruai turned around and slammed out another palm. At this time, all the internal energy in her body had dried up. Yunqi frowned and was about to come to rescue her, but saw Shang Ruai shaking her head slightly at him. She said in a voice that only she could hear, "This space failed at the critical moment.
I want to see."
Now, my internal energy is gone. If you don't show up, I will be beaten to death here by this old thing. If you want to disappear with me, you can still pretend to be dead there. As soon as the voice fell, she pulled the trigger again and shot the queen in the right shoulder blade. Fell to the ground covered in blood as she screamed. The old man behind her dodged her attack and flew out to attack her. Shang Ruai didn't even turn her head. She had a premonition that the space would never abandon her. Seeing that she was not prepared at all, the old man raised a smug smile. The internal force is exhausted. Watch out. This palm strike, she will definitely not survive. Shang Ruai's expression did not change, as if she was waiting for his palm wind to fall. At this moment, she seemed to hear a sigh from her body, and a trace of energy slowly emerged from her chest, spreading throughout her body like an electric current. The hidden injuries in her body disappeared instantly. Shang Ruai's lips slightly raised, and her eyes that were originally closed suddenly opened. A ray of silver light flashed, and the internal force and energy of her body intertwined and entangled with each other, and the air around her seemed to be still. A barrier appeared in front of her body, as if it were real. The old man's attack fell on that barrier and could no longer into it. After a while, the palm wind slowly dissipated. Shang Ruai raised her arm slightly and waved it gently. Suddenly, an invisible force appeared between heaven and earth. A trace of dangerous aura appeared. The old man hurriedly waved out his internal force to block it. He thought he could resist it, but he didn't expect that the internal force he was always proud of collapsed in an instant under Shang Ruai's casual wave, without causing a wave. Instead, the force that Shang Ruai waved directly threw him out, and his body hit an ancient tree in the yard heavily. The tree broke with a sound. The old man fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and his gray beard was full of blood. Great Elder. The disciples of Tianyin sect hurriedly helped him up. As soon as they touched him, they heard a crackling sound from his body. He spit out another mouthful of blood, and his body went limp. You. Shang Ruai smiled. I don't like killing people, but people like you who have done so many evil things must not stay in the world. I broke all your bones, and even if there is a medical saint in the world, it would be difficult to save you. In her previous life, in order to complete the task, her hands were stained with too much blood. In this life, she originally just wanted to be a clean person and didn't want to be involved in killing, but the world made people play tricks on her. But if it wasn't necessary, she wouldn't kill people, otherwise she wouldn't have used grenades until now. The severe pain from his body made him unable to utter a word, and he could only stare at Shang Ruai fiercely. The disciples of Tianyin sect pulled out their knives. Shang Ruai sneered, waved her arm, and the internal force fluctuations appeared again, blasting them out directly, and they fell to the ground unconscious. At this time, the only people still standing in the yard were Shang Ruai and Yunqi. Master. Yunqi stepped forward and whispered, Your body. It's okay. Shang Ruai whispered, Tie them up. Yes. The queen was not unconscious yet. She looked at Shang Ruai unwillingly. You must have used some magic. Magic. Shang Ruai smiled. Magic? She walked up to the queen, turned her back to Yunqi and others, stretched out her hand. A light flashed in her palm, and a night pearl suddenly appeared. Telekinesis? Is this conjured up? The queen panted, stared at her, and said, You are not a human. You are a goblin. Shang Ruai sneered and lowered her voice. Since you know I'm not a human, why do you still go against me? You. At this moment, bursts of fighting sounds came from outside. I just said that I will let you see with your own eyes the day when the building you built collapses, and all your plans will fall apart. As soon as the voice fell, dozens of white shadows came running wildly, and the earth was faintly shaking.
Xiaobai.
Shang Ruai looked at her tigers and said with a smile, "Why are you here?"
What?
Shang Ruai put her hand on Xiaobai's head and looked down to see that its snow-white fur was stained with bright red blood. She frowned slightly and took a closer look. It turned out that it was not its blood. Whoa, whoa. Dozens of low roars came. Shang Ruai looked at them and gradually found that their eyes were all on her dress, where there were a few blood stains. For a moment, she felt very warm in her heart. "I'm not injured." Shang Ruai touched their heads one by one, and the energy of her body continuously entered their bodies. Their hair brightened visibly, and their eyes narrowed comfortably. "Ruai." The voices of the king of the city and Jun Ziqian came over. "How is it? Are you injured?" Shang Ruai shook her head. "No." As they looked at the scene in the courtyard, the king of city couldn't help but twitch his eyebrows. He evaluated his daughter's fighting ability in his heart and found that his previous worries seemed to be unnecessary. There is no one in this world who can let her suffer injustice. If there is danger in the future, it can't be like today. It's not that your father can't protect you. Hearing this, Shang Ruai touched the tip of her nose and said with a smile, "If you don't leave, I'm afraid you will hold me back." The king of city glared at her and said no more. At this moment, a guard stepped forward, bowed and said, "Your Highness, the emperor is already in the palace. Please go over quickly. There is something important to announce. The other adults are on the way." Shang Ruai knew in her heart that the emperor of the western regions was already on his way to death. The so-called important thing was nothing more than who would pass the throne to. She looked back at the emperor's bedroom. When she was treating the emperor of the western regions, he told her that there was a secret passage in the palace that led to the outside of the palace. Only the emperor knew this secret passage. She pushed her father into the palace so that the emperor could take her father out of the palace to meet her brother. She knew that the queen would have a backup plan. Now, everything is under her control. Everyone came to the hall. The emperor of the western region sat on the dragon throne, and all the civil and military officials knelt on the ground. "Bring the rebels to the palace." As soon as the voice fell, the prince and several leaders of the rebellious imperial guards were and brought up. The crown prince Jun Yunting led his army to rebel. He was dismissed from office. "All those who participated in the rebellion shall be beheaded immediately. All 9 clans shall be executed. No one shall be spared." The queen poisoned the king, killed the concubines, used witchcraft in the palace, and harmed the royal heirs. The queen's position shall be abolished, and the white silk shall be granted. After disposing of many people in a dignified manner, the western region emperor coughed a few times. His eyes fell on the other princes, and he said in a deep voice, "My dragon body is not in good condition, and I am now voluntarily abdicating." Now that the crown prince has been abolished, the 7th prince Jun, she has a noble character and has been trained successfully. Now the throne will be passed to the 7th prince. Jun Shi's body trembled, and he looked at his father in disbelief. The other princes were inevitably dissatisfied. The western region emperor continued, "I specially order the city king Jun Ke to supervise the country and grant him a national whip to beat the tyrant king and behead the treacherous." He looked at the city king and said softly, "The future of the western region is in your hands." When everyone heard that the emperor asked the city king to be the regent, they were dissatisfied but did not dare to act rashly. The city king's deterrent power was still extremely terrifying. After doing these things, the western region emperor returned to the palace with the help of the eunuchs. He called Shang Ruai to the bed and whispered, "Are you satisfied with this new emperor?" Shang Ruai raised her eyebrows and laughed. "You are still thinking about your gold and silver treasures?" He shook his head. "I just want to ask you for something." "What?" "There is a scroll in my private vault. Can you give it back to me?" "Which scroll?" She remembered that the scroll was packed in several large boxes. black. Shang Ruai's consciousness flashed, and a black scroll appeared in her palm. The Western Region Emperor was stunned for a long time. This ability to take things from a distance was the first time he had seen it. You. What does this scroll mean to you? At the signal of the Western Region Emperor, the scroll was unfolded, and a picture of the mountains and rivers appeared in front of him. Bury this scroll with me, he said to Shang Ruai. Thank you. After speaking, he slowly closed his eyes. Shang Ruai walked out of the door and heard the inside shouting loudly, "The emperor has passed away." The emperor passed away, and the whole country mourned. The queen and the Yuan family behind her were beheaded. Shang Ruai returned all the treasures in the national treasury. The seventh prince ascended the throne and became emperor. Concubine Qing was named Empress Dowager. The original Empress Dowager became the Grand Empress Dowager. The king of city was regent. Shang Ruai had a rare 2 days of free time. That day, Jun Ziqian finally finished his work and came to her yard. Seeing her packing up, he hurriedly asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm going back to the western regions to take care of some things." "Are you going back to the Dinghua Palace?" Shang Ruai shook her head. Although the queen and the elder are dead, the foundation of Tianyin sect has not been affected. They want to unify the world, so they must have other plans. I have a feeling that Tianshan is about to be in chaos. In other words, what they wanted in the first place was Tianshan. When the Dinghua Palace was exiled, they must have wanted to take the opportunity to take Tianshan into their pockets, but their appearance and the return of the Dinghua Palace disrupted their plans, so they pointed their spearheads at the western regions. Jun Ziqian knew that she was concerned about the Dinghua Palace, but she refused to admit it. He smiled and said, "Now that the new emperor has ascended the throne, there are many things to be done, and he is too busy to accompany you. There are also many things to do in the military camp, and I can rarely come back. Are you going to leave without saying goodbye?" Shang Ruai smiled bitterly. "You two have been missing all day. Do you think I have to wait for you here for a year?" Jun Ziqian stretched out his hand and pinched her nose. "You always have a reason." At this moment, the laughter of the king of the city came from outside the courtyard. "What are you two talking about here?" "Ruai is going to go back to Tianshan." The smile on the king of the city's face disappeared instantly, and he looked at her bitterly. "Are you really leaving?" Shang Ruai nodded. "It's not like I won't come back. I am the princess of the king of the city in the western regions. I will come back after resolving the matter of Tiananmen." The king of the city smacked his lips. "Then when are you going to go back to the Dinghua Palace?" Shang Ruai looked at his appearance and couldn't help laughing. "Do you want me to go to the Dinghua Palace or not?" To be honest, the mind of the king of city is also very contradictory. If he were to say that among all the men in the world, the son-in-law he is most satisfied with is naturally He Jingheng, but Tianshan is far away from the western regions. If she marries there, she may not see her for several years. Seeing her father's face change, Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Don't let your imagination run wild. Let's talk about everything after we have dealt with the Tianyin sect." In the evening, the three of them had dinner in the courtyard of the king of city. "Ruai, remember, the king of city's mansion will always be your backing. Your father will protect you even at the cost of his life. If there is a dangerous situation like that day again, you must not push your father away from danger. If anything happens to you, your daughter knows." She stood up, looked at Jun Ziqian, and regardless of his presence, she waved her arm, and a pile of things appeared in the room. What is this?" The city king blinked and asked in surprise. "You made it again?"
Made it?
Jun Ziqian looked at Shang Ruai and understood that it must be related to the light he saw in her palm earlier. "These are all firearms." Shang Ruai explained how to use cannons, machine guns, grenades, mines, and pistols one by one. The more they listened, the brighter their eyes became. With this, they dared to say that the entire western region would be as solid as a rock. Shang Ruai knew that her father and brother were not people who would increase the killing, otherwise she would never leave these firearms here. Early the next morning, Shang Ruai left the city king's mansion and set off for Tianshan. She dressed as a man, and people along the way thought she was a young master from some family, and no one thought of her as a woman, which made it much easier for her. When she arrived at Tianshan, it was already dark. Master, let's stay here tonight. Yunqi pointed to an inn and whispered, "This is the best inn in town." Shang Ruai nodded. They had been traveling for a long time, and everyone was a little tired. "Let's stay here." The waiter saw them coming in and hurried to greet them. "Sir, are you staying here or having a meal?" 15 upper rooms, and we'll prepare some signature dishes." "Okay. Please come in." The waiter looked happy. "I see you are from outside. Are you here to see the fun?" The waiter poured a cup of tea and handed it to Shang Ruai. "Recently, many people have come to our Tianshan." "Fun? What fun? You haven't heard of it?" The waiter said proudly. "Do you know the Dingwang Palace in our Tianshan?" Shang Ruai was stunned for a moment, nodded and said, "I know. I think you have heard that the Prince of Dingwang, He Jingheng, is getting married."
Get married?
Yunqi heard this and said coldly, "Don't talk nonsense." "How dare I talk nonsense?" He looked around and whispered, "I heard that he is going to marry some princess." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard the people at the next table say, "It's Princess Shuyang from southern Xinjiang. I just came out from the direction of the capital and happened to catch up with the princess's team entering the city. Wow, I accidentally saw her. She is really beautiful. Your Prince Ding is so lucky." The waiter smiled. "The Dingwa Palace is the patron saint of our Tianshan. Not to mention the princess. Even the princess can match her." They talked passionately and didn't notice the increasingly dangerous eyes of the young master in front of them. Yunqi wanted to shut the waiter's mouth. "What nonsense are you talking about? How could their prince marry Princess Shuyang? That woman is not even as good as a hair of the master." "Master,
eat,"
Shang Ruai said calmly, as if she didn't take the waiter's words to heart at all. However, Yunqi had been with her for a long time and knew that she was really angry when she looked like this, so he hurriedly explained, "There must be some misunderstanding. The prince will never marry the Princess Shuyang." Shang Ruai concentrated on eating the rice in the bowl without even raising her head. "Master, eating can't stop you from talking?" Yunqi hurriedly closed his mouth. At night, Shang Ruai came to the space and wanted to rest for a while, but she kept thinking about what the waiter said. It was not that she didn't believe He Jingheng, but she couldn't understand why Shuyang wanted to come to marry. At this moment, there was a wave outside the space. Shang Ruai looked outside and saw He Jingheng using the tea set she had just used. She walked out of the space. He Jingheng felt her breath, smiled and said, "It seems that I still need to adapt. Otherwise, if you suddenly appear or disappear like this, I will not be used to it." Shang Ruai glanced at him and sat opposite him. "What are you doing here?" "Knowing that you have entered Tianshan, of course I have to come to pick you up in person. I am not very familiar with the prince. Why did the prince come to greet you?" Shang Ruai sneered. "Besides, you are not in the palace preparing for the wedding. Why are you here to pick me up? How do you know that this prince is going to get married?" Shang Ruai was stunned for a moment, then sneered. "This Tianshan is about to spread. It is said that you, the prince, are going to marry Princess Shuyang of southern Xinjiang. People have brought dowries and have come all the way here. If you don't accept it, the face of the king of Qi in southern Xinjiang will be completely lost." He Jingheng smiled. "Do you believe these rumors?" "Why not?" Shang Ruai said lightly. "You don't have to believe what a person says, but if he says so, you have to doubt it." He Jingheng walked to her side and was about to hold her in his arms, but was slapped aside by Shang Ruai. "Men and women should not touch each other. Your Excellency, this is not the behavior of a gentleman." He Jingheng rubbed his shoulder that was hurt by the pat and smiled bitterly. "Who spread this rumor? This prince will break his bones." After a while, Shang Ruai whispered, "Princess Shuyang is the daughter of King Qi. They were beaten so badly by me when they attacked Tianshan before. How could they still want to offend me? It means you are too kind and showed mercy. Then this time I will really hurt them." Shang Ruai glanced at him. "It's so late. What are you still doing here? There are no vacant rooms in this inn. If there are no vacant rooms, what are you doing here?" Shang Ruai pushed her out. "Go find Yunqi and the others." He Jingheng looked at the closed door helplessly. Shang Ruai was lying on the bed. Soon a warm hug came from behind. Shang Ruai did not turn around. He Jingheng smelled the fragrance on her body and slowly closed his eyes. This was the most sound sleep he had had in the past few months. The next morning, before dawn, Shang Ruai opened her eyes and saw that he still maintained the same sleeping posture as last night, with the corners of his lips slightly raised.
He was still a gentleman.
Shang Ruai raised her palm and placed it on his chest. Just as she was about to send the energy in her body into his body, a warm big hand covered her hand. It's still early, sleep a little longer. It will be dawn in a while. What will it look like if others see us? She transferred the energy in the space into He Jingheng's body, and she stopped only when she felt that his body had returned to its peak again. So what if they see us? We are husband and wife. I'm dressed as a man now. If others see us, there will be gossip. If people say that the Prince of Dingwang Palace has a homosexual relationship, how can you marry Princess Shuyang? He Jingheng opened his eyes and pinched her nose with his hand. You've been causing trouble for me so early in the morning. Shang Ruai smiled and was about to speak when she felt the hand around her waist tightened. Shang Ruai's face suddenly flushed. It's better to let rumors spread so that I don't have to explain to others why I can't get married. He nestled in the crook of Shang Ruai's neck. I understand why some kings don't attend the morning court. If you were a favorite concubine, I would be the incompetent king who doesn't care about state affairs. Aren't you ashamed to say that? What's there to be ashamed of? With a beautiful woman in my arms, who would care about state affairs. As the two were talking, Yunqi's voice came from outside the door. Master, it's almost dawn. We should set off. Shang Ruai pushed He Jingheng. Get up. Not long after, the door opened. Yunqi was about to greet Shang Ruai when he saw a dark figure walking out of the room. When he saw who it was, Yunqi's face turned pale. Prince, when did you? He Jingheng glared at him. Do I need to report my whereabouts to you? I dare not. Yunqi said hurriedly. I just didn't know you were coming. Still staying in the room of the prince's wife. When he thought about how he had just knocked on the door, he wanted to slap himself in the face. Usually Yuntian would do this kind of thing, but today it was his turn. If he had known, he would have asked someone else to knock on the door. After Shang Ruai finished washing up, everyone went downstairs to have breakfast. They were considered to be the ones who got up relatively early. The waiter brought the buns and porridge to the table with sleepy eyes, rubbing his eyes and saying, Sir, are you going to set off so early? Yes. We want to go to the capital earlier. It won't take long to get from here to the capital by fast horse. I see that the horses tied behind you are all Fergana horses, and they run twice as fast as ordinary horses. When you get to the capital, you will definitely be able to catch up with the excitement of our prince and princess. He Jingheng didn't like these simple meals in the first place, and when he heard him say that, he wanted to smash the bun in his face. The excitement of the prince and the princess? What excitement? Seeing that he didn't know, the waiter became excited again and said hurriedly, I can see that you are from another place, and you don't even know about this happy event. Our prince, the prince of Tianshan Dingwang, will marry the princess of Shuyang from southern Xinjiang soon.
Oh?
He Jingheng saw Shang Ruai laughing at the side, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When did this happen? Just recently. You must not know. How can you be more informed than us? The waiter said proudly. Although we are located in the border area, the news is fast, and what I said is definitely right. He Jingheng saw that Shang Ruai had almost finished eating, took out a few taels of silver and threw them into the waiter's arms, and said in a deep voice, You didn't see it with your own eyes, so don't talk nonsense. This prince didn't even know that he was going to marry the princess of Shuyang. How did you know? After speaking, he took Shang Ruai's hand and walked out. Yunqi and the others got up and followed them. The waiter saw their backs gradually going away, and his brain, which had just woken up, was still a little slow to react. He murmured, This young man is really interesting. How come I know more about him than I do? He doesn't even know that he is going to marry Princess Shuyang. Does he think he is the Prince of Dingwang?
What?
The Prince of Dingwang? The person who just appeared in his shop is the Prince of Dingwang? He couldn't help but recall the scene of He Jingheng holding Shang Ruai's hand, and he couldn't help but be stunned. Their prince, the brave god of war. He actually likes men. Soon, the rumor that He Jingheng likes men spread. Aren't you afraid that your reputation will be ruined? Shang Ruai said to He Jingheng beside her while riding on a horse with a smile. If your father knew the news, he would probably want to break your legs again. So what? As long as it doesn't delay the march and the war, I think my father won't care. Shang Ruai nodded. He was right. If this method can completely solve my marriage, it is not a good idea. At this time, Xu Yang had already arrived in the capital. As a princess from southern Xinjiang who came to marry, the first thing Xu Yang did when she arrived in the capital was to enter the palace to pay homage. Emperor Tianshun sat on the dragon throne, looking coldly at Xu Yang and the governor standing below. Greetings to your majesty. I'm Wen Bin, the governor sent by southern Xinjiang. This is Princess Xu Yang, the legitimate daughter of King Qi of southern Xinjiang. Xu Yang leaned forward slightly. Your servant Xu Yang greets your majesty. Stand up. Thank you, your majesty. The governor stood up, looked at Emperor Tianshun and said softly, I came to Tianshun this time to show my sincerity. On behalf of your majesty of southern Xinjiang, I have brought generous gifts. Please accept them. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of maids and guards brought up several large boxes full of gold, silver, jewelry, rare treasures, and antiques. Seeing this, Emperor Tianshun was in a very good mood. His private vault had been emptied before, and with these things filled in, he became rich again. Thank you for your majesty's kindness. He waved his hand, and the guards carried the boxes to the back. I will welcome you tonight. Thank you, your majesty. The Jidushi smiled. However, there is one more thing that I need to make clear to you. What is it? This time, Princess Xu Yang came with you. I'm sure you can guess that our majesty means to let Princess Xu Yang marry a man from Tianshun. Our princess's dowry is the 12 cities bordering Tianshun and the western regions.
What?
12 cities? Are they all her dowry? Emperor Tianshun's heart was lifted up. That's 12 cities. He finally smiled. Haha, we have so many men in Tianshun. I'm sure Princess Xu Yang will be able to choose her ideal husband. In the evening, the banquet was held as scheduled. The queen and concubine Zhao sat on both sides of Emperor Tianshun, and Prince He Lingxing sat on the left, opposite Princess Xu Yang and the Jidushi. Emperor Tianshun said a lot of polite words. His eyes always swept across Xu Yang's face vaguely. He wanted to know now, who did Xu Yang want to choose as her husband? Xu Yang looked around, but did not see the person he wanted to see. At this moment, a sharp gaze came. Xu Yang shrank his neck, lowered his head, and dared not look around anymore. Concubine Zhao's voice came, and she leaned towards Emperor Tianshun softly and said tenderly, Your Majesty, look, how beautiful is this Princess Xu Yang. I like her so much when I see her. She looked at the queen on the other side. Queen, what do you think? Do you like her? What's the use of me liking her? She is here to choose a husband, not to be my goddaughter. The queen looked at Xu Yang and said in a flat tone, I wonder if there is anyone she likes among the princes? Xu Yang lowered her head and said nothing. Concubine Zhao smiled and said, Princess Xu Yang was born to the prince. If she marries the prince, it's not impossible. But if she becomes the principal wife, I'm afraid she is not qualified. It was a blessing for Tianshun to accept the marriage of a princess from a defeated country. Emperor Tianshun looked at Xu Yang and asked in a low voice, Princess Xu Yang, do you have a man you want to marry? Xu Yang looked around and lowered her head. The governor beside her smiled and said, What the imperial concubine said is exactly. Before leaving, Our Majesty and the prince told the princess not to be too ambitious. The prince dare not dream of it. He only asks for the position of the crown prince's consort. The position of the crown prince's consort? I heard that the prince of your country, Prince Ding, does not have a crown prince's consort yet. I wonder if our princess Xu Yang can marry His Royal Highness the Prince of Ding? Everyone's eyes fell on the people in the Dingwa Palace. He Jingheng did not attend the banquet today. Only Prince Ding, Princess Consort, and He Yuni came to attend the banquet. Emperor Tianshun looked a little surprised. It was a shame that the princess sent from the Ding Kingdom Palace and the southern Xinjiang princess who came from thousands of miles away did not consider marrying his own princess at all, but set her sights on He Jingheng. He Yuni looked at Princess Shuyang and sneered, "Princess Shuyang, long time no see." Seeing this, concubine Zhao smiled and said, "Are you old acquaintances?" "More than old acquaintances?" He Yuni said lightly. It was Princess Shuyang who led the southern Xinjiang soldiers to massacre the people in the exile area. If it weren't for my sister-in-law who captured her and her father, the entire Qingzhou would have fallen into the hands of others. When these old stories were mentioned, the faces of the people in southern Xinjiang changed several times. People's eyes fell on He Yuni. In their memory, He Yuni had been a taciturn person since childhood and had almost no sense of presence in public. They never thought that she would say these things today. The governor smiled awkwardly. "I'm very sorry for disturbing the peace of Tianshan." Prince Ding whispered, "There is some hatred between our Dinghua Palace and Princess Shuyang, so it is not appropriate to marry Princess Shuyang." Princess Xiao heard this. Her eyes lit up. Dinghua Palace didn't want it, but they wanted it. Just looking at Princess Shuyang's dowry, Princess Xiao was so tempted. Just when she was about to speak, she received a warning look from concubine Zhao. The Jadushi continued, "As the saying goes, it is better to resolve a feud than to create one. There were some misunderstandings before, and I thought that they would be fine once they were resolved." Upon hearing this, Prince Ding frowned, put down the wine glass in his hand, and said in a cold voice, "Do you want you to teach me how to do things?" "I dare not." The Jadushi hurriedly said, "I am just making some suggestions." A Jadushi of a defeated country dares to make suggestions?
He is so ashamed.
Su Zimo said from below, "I am ashamed for him." Emperor Tianshun glanced at him, and Su Zimo smiled awkwardly. The queen looked at Princess Xiao and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, is He Qing ready for marriage?" Princess Xiao looked at concubine Zhao, and seeing her nod to her, she smiled and said, "To be honest, He Qing has long been engaged to the crown prince's consort, but the girl is not yet of age. She is a distant relative of my mother's family and has been engaged since she was a child." The queen whispered, "Since they haven't married yet, there is still room for maneuver in this marriage." "Your Majesty." Princess Xiao hurriedly said, "Everyone knows that the girl is going to marry Qinger. If she regrets it now, how can she get married?" Concubine Zhao continued Princess Zhao's words and said, "I think what Princess Xiao said makes a lot of sense. If her marriage is taken away by someone, the girl may have no way to survive. However, we can let the girl be a concubine and let Princess Shuyang be the crown prince's consort. But if outsiders know about it, I'm afraid there will be gossip." Concubine Zhao looked at Shuyang and said softly, "I don't know if that girl is a hot-tempered person. I have heard that many girls committed suicide because their marriages were not satisfactory. If the princess marries here and experiences these things, it will be a bit unpleasant if it gets out." Her voice was very low, and only Emperor Tianshun and the Empress could hear it clearly. The Empress glanced at her and lowered her head to drink the soup in the bowl. Emperor Tianshun thought about it. In this case, only the Dinghua Palace could accommodate the Princess Shuyang. He said in a deep voice, "Prince Ding, what do you think?" When the emperor said this, who among the civil and military officials dared to offend the emperor? Who would not say, "I will follow your majesty's orders"? But the person he asked was He Yuan. How could he be easy to talk to when he could give birth to a person like He Jingheng, who was born to be rebellious? He stood up, bowed, and said, "Thank you, your majesty, for your kindness." Emperor Tianshun thought that he agreed with this, and before the smile on his face could expand, he heard him continue, "I think that Princess Shuyang should not marry into the Dinghua Palace." Hiss! Everyone's eyes were focused on him. This Prince Ding didn't even give the emperor any face. "Do you want to disobey the order? It is the ancestral precept of the Dinghua Palace not to marry foreign women." Prince Ding whispered, "Princess Shuyang is from southern Xinjiang and must not marry into our Dinghua Palace." When was this ancestral precept? Why didn't they stop? Emperor Tianshun wanted to slap him in the face. Didn't they have the same ancestor? Why didn't he know there was this ancestral precept? But now that it has come to this, he can only wave his hand with a dark face. In this case, I will think about it again. He looked at Princess Shuyang, smiled, and said, "Since you have come from afar, you should experience the local customs and people in Tianshan." He turned to Prince Ding and said, "Where did that bad boy He Jingheng go?" "I don't know." He looked at Su Zimo again, and Su Zimo hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, I've been busy with my uncle these days, and I haven't seen the prince for a long time." Emperor Tianshan said coldly, "Your Dinghua Palace does not marry foreign women, but there is an ancestral precept that you can't take her around." Without waiting for Prince Ding to answer, he continued, "In this case, I order Prince Ding to accompany Princess Shuyang around every day and not to neglect guests. If I find out, I will punish him severely." Upon hearing this, Prince Ding could only say, "Yes, Your Majesty." Xu Yang's face looked a little ugly. She couldn't help trembling when she thought of He Jingheng. In the place of exile, she had experienced Zhang Rui's methods. When she thought of it now, she wanted to turn around and run away immediately. At this moment, a warning look came. She trembled and said respectfully, "It's up to Your Majesty to arrange." After the dinner, He and Princess Ding sat in a carriage and walked towards the palace. "What's wrong?" Qin patted He little hand. "Mother sees that you are in a bad mood. Is there anything?" He shook her head and said softly, "I'm just thinking about my sister-in-law." Today in the palace, when the emperor said that he would marry Xu Yang to her brother as the prince's consort, she felt a dull pain in her heart. Her sister-in-law, the omnipotent woman, has been away from them for so long. "Mother, do you think your brother will marry another woman in the future?" Qin's face flashed with grief, tears sparkled in her eyes, and after a while, she whispered, "Mother doesn't know. If he marries someone else, I will definitely not call her sister-in-law." Qin touched her hair. "Mother doesn't want her brother to marry another woman, but if that's the case, there will be no one to inherit our Dinghua Palace. There are 3 kinds of unfilial piety, and having no descendants is the greatest. Their Dinghua Palace must not be cut off from incense." He fell silent and stopped talking all the way. Qin was sad, but she could do nothing about it. At this time, in Concubine Zhao's palace, Concubine Zhao was standing aside, helping Concubine Zhao rinse her mouth. "Your Majesty," Concubine Zhao said with a smile, "I don't know why Your Majesty asked me to say that Qing'er already has a prince's consort today." She was still thinking about the dowry of Princess Shuyang. Concubine Zhao knew what was going on in her mind, and sneered, "Look at how shallow you are. It's just some gold, silver, and jewelry. What's there to fight for?" Princess Zhao smiled awkwardly. How could she know her own difficulties? She had been in charge of the Shao Palace for many years, and she knew that the Shao Palace was already an empty shell. The dowry was richer than all the property in their house. Moreover, marrying a woman from another family required a betrothal gift, but if you married a woman from a foreign country, the money for the betrothal gift would be left. Didn't you see that the emperor wanted her to marry into the Dinghua Palace? Concubine Zhao would naturally not tell her the truth, so she had to shirk it to Emperor Tianshan. "I've been with the emperor for many years, so I naturally know what the emperor is thinking. Don't ask any more about this matter." Hearing her say this, Princess Zhao hurriedly said, "It was my fault for being reckless." "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am tired, please go down."
"Yes."
After Princess Zhao left, Bishi stepped forward, took out a note, and handed it to Concubine Zhao. "Your Majesty, there is news over there that Princess Shuyang must marry into the Dinghua Palace." Concubine Zhao frowned and said in a low voice, "I really don't know what the master is thinking. Letting Shuyang go to the Dinghua Palace, isn't that increasing the power of the Dinghua Palace?" At this moment, the cry of a baby came from the yard next to her. Concubine Zhao frowned and said in a low voice, "Feed that little thing some medicine. Don't disturb my rest."
"Yes."
When He Lingxing returned to the prince's mansion, Zhang Yufu came to greet him. "Your Highness, what are you doing here?" He Lingxing said in a deep voice, "Didn't I allow you to leave?"
"I am here to say goodbye to you."
Zhang Yufu smiled. "After tonight, I will leave." Seeing her expression, He Lingxing sneered and said to the servant beside him, give her 50 taels of silver. No need. Shang Yufu smiled. I just want to accompany you for a while. He Lingxing looked at her with a little surprise. I didn't know when I had such a deep affection for you. I am grateful to the prince for helping me and my mother get rid of slavery and rebirth. I have no way to repay you. Shang Yufu put her hand on his arm and said softly, if it weren't for what happened back then, I would have been your highness's person now. Who knew that things would go against my wishes? I feel ashamed and unworthy of the prince's kindness. Hearing her say this, He Lingxing pulled his arm away and sneered. There are some things I think it's better to make clear to you today. He stood up and whispered, I will help you get rid of the status, but the status cannot be cancelled. Even if there was no previous incident, I would never welcome you in. His words made Shang Yufu tremble. What does your highness mean? I thought I had made it very clear. He Lingxing frowned impatiently. Your father asked me to save your lives, and I did it. You wanted to get rid of your status as A, but you didn't do what you promised me. But I am still willing to let you and your mother go. That's not what I'm asking about. Shang Yufu looked at him and whispered, if nothing had happened back then, you wouldn't have married me. What does this mean?
It doesn't hurt to tell you now.
He Lingxing smiled. I don't like stupid women, and you're not the one I really want to marry. In other words, there is no one in the prince's mansion that he really wants to marry. Shang Yufu looked at him and said in a cold voice, is Shang Rui really the one your highness wants to marry? I have already told you very clearly last time. She is just a concubine's daughter. What's so good about her? Shang Yufu couldn't help getting excited when talking about Shang Rui. I am the daughter of the first wife. How can I be inferior to her? He Lingxing looked at her coldly and said in a low voice, if it were her in front of me now, she would definitely not question me so hysterically. In terms of character, you are far worse than her. You don't like me, but what about the prince's concubine who just joined? He Lingxing was silent. Shang Yufu knew that she had asked another stupid question. She couldn't help but laugh at herself. I've known for a long time that Shang Rui is much prettier than me, so since I was a child I wanted to find an opportunity to scratch her face, but my father wouldn't allow it. He wanted to use Shang Rui's face to help him gain more benefits. If I had known that you were so in love with her, I should not have listened to my father. If she became ugly, I wonder if His Highness would still be obsessed with her. If you scratch her face, I will kill you. He Lingxing said coldly, if you still want her life, get out of here immediately and don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will take back my promise to let you and your mother go. Shang Yufu said no more. She looked outside the door, slightly curled her lips, and whispered, then I'll take my leave first. She walked out of the study and saw a beautiful figure standing not far away. That was the prince's concubine, Shen Shui, who she had just mentioned. Empress concubine. Shang Yufu bowed. Greetings to Her Majesty. Shen Shui had no expression on her face and said in a low voice, why are you here? Your servant is taking farewell to His Highness. Shen Shui nodded. Yufu, we have known each other for many years and have played together since childhood. I never thought that we would end up in this situation today. It really is a different time now.
Yes.
Shang Yufu looked up at her with a slightly sarcastic smile in her eyes. A different time now. Things may change over time. Who can predict what will happen in the future? Shen Shui frowned slightly. Shang Yufu's eyes made her extremely uncomfortable. Farong, who was following her, stepped forward and took out a red purse. This is a gift for me. Since you are leaving, I guess you don't have much money. Here are some silver and banknotes. Take them. Shen Shui took the purse, smiled and said, thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty. After she finished speaking, she bowed and left. Watching her leaving, Farong curled her lips. My queen, you are too kind. Why give her money? Look at her attitude. She is just a now, but her chin is raised higher than that of the master. She also says these ambiguous words. She doesn't even look at her current identity. She still thinks she is the daughter of the Prime Minister? Shen Shui's face sank slightly, and he said in a low voice, did you hear what she said in the study just now? I heard it. Farong snorted coldly. She was just talking nonsense there. Shang Ruai was just a concubine's daughter, and now she has even lost her life. How could the prince's heart still be with her? Now you are the prince's concubine. You know best how well the prince treats you. Who in the prince's mansion does not say that you must be the future prince's consort and the future queen? How can a dead person compare to that? Xin Shui felt heavy in her heart. She knew best how the prince treated her. He was gentle and polite, and treated her with respect. Her mother died early, and her father was away at war all year round, so she didn't know how a couple should get along, so she thought the prince treated her very well. It was not until she heard Shang Yufu mention Shang Ruo's name and He Lingxing's restrained voice, especially when Shang Yufu said she wanted to scratch Shang Ruo's face, that He Lingxing's voice seemed to be filled with ice. She realized that He Lingxing had no feelings for her at all. This made her heart even colder. She listened to the sound of porcelain breaking in the study, her eyes were deep, and she turned and left. "Your Highness." Farong hurriedly followed. "Your Highness, aren't you going to the study?"
I'm tired.
"But don't you go to the study every night to accompany His Highness to read?" "Why tonight?" "I said I'm tired." Xin Shui's voice was icy. "Why don't you go back quickly?" She, Shen Shui, was the legitimate daughter of the Duke of Jinggua's mansion. Although she was not a royal relative, she was also of noble status. Her grandfather and father had made great military achievements. It could be said that in Tianshan, apart from the Duke of Dinggua's mansion, there was the Duke of Jinggua's mansion. She was not so lowly that she had to live by pleasing men. Since he was so perfunctory to her, she couldn't expect her to be sincere to him. She also had her pride. Farong saw that she was faintly angry, so she quickly shut up and left quickly behind her. "Your Highness." "Get lost." Li Ju stood at the door of the study and whispered, "I have something important to report." "I told you to get lost." Li Ju thought for a moment and finally spoke. "I received news that someone on the border met someone who looked very much like the second young lady of the Shang family." As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the study suddenly opened. "What did you say?" Li Ju knew that his prince would be interested in this news. "The second lady of the Shang family, it seems, is not dead." He Lingxing's eyes lit up. "I knew she was not dead. She must not be dead." He was overjoyed. "She is alone?" Li Ju's lips moved, hesitating whether to say what the guards reported, and then he heard He Lingxing continue to ask, "I'm asking you a question. We have also found traces of Prince Ding at the border." The smile on He Lingxing's face disappeared instantly. "What did you say?" Prince Ding also appeared at the border. He Lingxing gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Didn't I ask someone to keep an eye on him? He was still in the palace a few days ago. How could he suddenly appear at the border again? Maybe our people have been deceived by him, and it's not him at all in the palace." "Waste." He Lingxing slapped him in the face. "What's the use of you bunch of waste? You can't even keep an eye on one person." Li Ju and the people in the courtyard knelt on the ground, not daring to breathe. "Let someone confirm whether that person is Shang Ruai." Perhaps He Jingheng also received some news, so he went to the border. This time, no matter what method he used, he would not let He Jingheng find her first. No matter what, he would keep Shang Ruai by his side. "I will do it now." At this time, in the inn where Princess Xuyang lived, a figure wrapped in black silk appeared in her room. Xuyang knelt on the ground with fear on her face. "Master, why are you shaking?" The woman walked gracefully to her side and said with a smile, "Are you so scared of seeing me?" "I dare not." Xuyang lowered his head and said softly, "Master, why did you come so late at night?" "I just came to see you." The woman stretched out her hands, and her pink nails fell on her face. She smiled and said, "What a beautiful face." As the voice fell, she suddenly exerted force on her hands, and her sharp nails pierced into her skin. The severe pain came, and Xuyang endured it and dared not make a sound. The bright red blood flowed down the white skin, dyeing the woman's nails bright red. "Well, this color is really beautiful." She admired her nails. It turns out that young blood is good enough, and the dye used for nail dyeing is just right. Xuyang knelt on the ground, and her thin shoulders kept shaking. "I tell you, No matter what method you use, you must marry into the Dingwang Palace. Otherwise, I will use your blood to make dye. Do you understand?
I know, please rest assured, master.
The woman raised her hand and gently stroked her face. A cold feeling passed through her, and the pain on her face disappeared instantly. Not only that, even the wound that was bleeding just now was slowly healing. Xu Yang's heart was shocked. She had only heard that her master had such a powerful ability, but she had never seen it with her own eyes. Now it happened to her. In addition to being shocked, she didn't know how to describe her feelings at this moment. She felt an itch on her face, and she raised her hand to touch it. The wound had healed completely.
Thank you, master.
If you do the things I told you to do well, I will not treat you unfairly. Otherwise, I am afraid that everyone in your Chiwang Palace will die because of your negligence. Do you understand?
I understand. She couldn't help shaking.
There is one more thing you need to know. Shang Ruai is still alive and will arrive in the capital soon. If you want to marry into the Dingwa Palace, you must get rid of her. I will order people to assist you. Do you understand?
I know.
The next moment, a gust of wind blew, and the black figure in front of her disappeared. Xu Yang's body fell to the ground. After a while, she rolled and crawled to the bronze mirror and looked at her face in the mirror anxiously. Seeing that the skin on her face was as smooth as before, her body gradually slid to the ground, as if she was exhausted. Thinking back to what she had just experienced, it seemed like a dream, but the stinging pain on her face was real. Dingwa Palace, He Jingheng, Shang Ruai. Putting these together, she felt that the wound on her face was hurting again. After a long journey of several days, Shang Ruai and her group finally arrived near the capital.
Ruai.
He Jingheng said softly, "Would you like to go back to the palace with me today?" Shang Ruai shook her head. "No. I have to go to my grandfather's place soon. Mother and Yuni miss you very much. They know I'm still alive?" He Jingheng was slightly startled, smiled and said, "Isn't this a surprise for them? Surprise or shock? They will probably think I'm a zombie." He Jingheng rubbed her head. Sometimes women are too smart and too hard to fool. This is the edge of the capital, and her grandfather's farm is nearby. You go back first. I can go by myself. Shang Ruai looked around. There was some fog today. There were many farmlands in the suburbs of Beijing. Many farmers were carrying baskets and preparing to go into the city to sell vegetables. It will be dawn soon. Many people know you, and I don't want to reveal my identity. Shang Ruai pushed him. You are shameless, but I still need a reputation. TSK. He Jingheng sighed. So ruthless. Yunqi and others behind him looked at their prince and lowered their heads. It is hard to imagine that the prince would say such words. He looks just like a young wife. Don't let others see you like this. It's really shameful. He Jingheng watched Shang Ruai's figure go away. The lazy look just now disappeared in an instant. He said in a deep voice, "Come out." "Prince." Yuntian walked out from the darkness, looked at the backs of Yunqi and the others as they left, and felt a little regretful that he couldn't say a few words to the prince's wife. What happened? As you expected, they did send Princess Shuyang, and their goal is clear. They are coming for our palace. Are they keeping an eye on the group of people in southern Xinjiang? Yes. Yuntian paused and said in a low voice, "Someone went to the inn where Princess Shuyang was last night, but that person's body movements were extremely strange, and our people lost him." He Jingheng frowned when he heard this. Where are the people trained by the crown princess? They haven't returned from training yet. That person may be the one we are looking for. He Jingheng said in a deep voice, the real person behind the scenes. Shang Ruai came to a manor, and the servant at the door was cleaning. "Young master, who are you looking for?" Shang Ruai saw that he was unfamiliar, and he should be a servant who had recently returned from shopping. Just as she was about to speak, she heard a surprised voice. "Sister." Shang Ruai looked up and saw Li Xiaxia wearing a golden brocade dress, looking at her with surprise.
"Is it really you?"
Li Xiaxia's eyes widened. "Sister." Shang Ruai smiled and nodded. "It's me." "Sister." Li Xiaxia ran down and hugged her. "Sister, you are not dead. So good." It's really so good. Her voice was a little choked, and her eyes were red. Grandfather will get better immediately when he sees you. Grandfather's sick? Li Xiaxia wiped her tears. Grandfather fell ill since he heard that you were killed in the palace. Shang Ruai heard this and hurried to the mansion. This manor was not very big, but it was very spacious for the two of them to live in. The servants serving in the mansion were basically the old people brought by the Li family from Bailing. They were very familiar with Shang Ruai. When they saw her come in, they all stared at her with unbelievable eyes. Shang Ruai came to the inner room, and the room was filled with a strong smell of medicine. Her heart sank, and she walked in quickly. Ahem! A low cough was heard, and the heavy breathing was faintly accompanied by a slight wheeze. Hearing footsteps, he whispered, "Xia Xia, why are you back again?" "Ahem, grandfather." The old man was lying on the bed, and his eyes, which had been closed, suddenly opened and stared straight at the ceiling. He didn't recover for a long time, thinking that he was hallucinating and was afraid that the sound would disappear if he moved. After all, he had heard this sound countless times during this period of time. "Grandfather." The voice came again, and the footsteps were getting closer and closer. A figure slowly appeared in his sight. The old man looked at her, not even daring to blink, for fear that if he blinked, his good granddaughter would disappear in